Hi everyone, please subscribe to my channel. Blood Immortal Venerable, see playlist for other chapters and novels. I do not translate the novels. Credits goes to original translator and author of the novel. I only make it as an audiobook so it would be easier to just listen while doing other things. Credits goes to the author of the novel. I convert stories to audiobook for mental health, for multitasking purpose, for accessibility and time saving. Listening to audiobook is also beneficial for people who have disability. It improves our listening skills and improve our English comprehension, vocabulary and other things. So, thank you for listening. Thank you and thank you very much for your support. Chapter 658 Scythe 8. Yin Wu's eyes darkened. Uranus's eyes flashed coldly at him, saying, "My youngest son doesn't know anything related to Numa's sky yet. But you already know it. You're just wearing the skin of my youngest son. You aren't him, so who are you?" Yet, Yin Wu didn't understand what Uranus meant by that, but he pretended not to know anything. He simply said, "I don't know what you're talking about. Father, I just... Numa's sky is something I tell my son in the future." Do. The world quaked with Uranus's booming voice, as if on the verge of collapse. Even the expanding night momentarily paused. The domain of fight reacts to the intense stimulus. The domain is cancelled because it has no relation to this legend. Yin Wu saw why Uranus was called the father of the heavens. Uranus had been the only being powerful enough to strike against Mother Earth before falling to Gaia's curse. His aura made Yin Wu's skin prickle, truly fitting of the founder Olympus. Even so, Yin Wu didn't miss the other emotions that wavered under Uranus's angry gaze. It was clear he was concerned that something had happened to his youngest son. All kinds of thoughts flashed in Yin Wu's head. Should I just reveal my identity to ask for cooperation? From what Yin Wu had seen from Kronos legends, although Uranus was rough on the outside, he was constantly worried over his children and had great love for his family on the inside. It was possible he could help Yin Wu if Yin Wu revealed he was Uranus's grandson. It was also the most optimal unfolding of events since Yin Wu was rushed for time. However, he quickly put that idea away. I have no proof that I'm his grandson. If he thinks I'm lying and tries to capture me, things will become difficult. Although this was a world made of Kronos memories and legends, all the beings living inside it believed themselves to be real. Thus, if Yin Wu told Uranus that he was his grandson from the future or that this world was fake, it was most likely Uranus would think he was crazy. However, since Uranus was suspicious of Yin Wu still needed to come up with a plan to alleviate his doubt. I see. So that's what happened. Suddenly, the aura that twisted around Yin Wu's neck was released. While Yin Wu had been in contemplation, Uranus had come to his own conclusion. "You are my grandson. Are you Kronos' child?" Quote! Yin Wu couldn't believe how Uranus had known. Surprised, he couldn't help but be surprised since he had given up on the plan to reveal his identity. "Based on your expression, it seems I'm right. Then this world must be imaginary and you've come here through my youngest son's legends." It seemed as if Uranus was a fortune teller, accurately deducing everything. Yin Wu didn't remember Uranus having any abilities relating to foresight or divination. He didn't. Father definitely said although the spring of time was from grandfather, he didn't have the domain of time. Then how? Unsure of how to interpret Uranus's observations and guesses, Yin Wu simply asked, "How did you know?" "I already told you. Numa's sky is something my future self tells my youngest son when I'm on my deathbed. You're talking about something that hasn't even happened, so how could I not notice?" Yin Wu still didn't understand, but one thing was for certain. Although Uranus couldn't foresee the future, he knew about the kinds of events that would occur far in the future. "This blood-stained place isn't a place where I should be meeting my grandson for the first time. Let's move someplace else first." It seemed their conversation would be long. Even then, time was ticking. 11 hours 20 minutes and 41 seconds _06. 11 hours 20 minutes and 41 seconds _05. It's hard to believe. I never imagined that troublemaker would have a child. There couldn't have been a greater burden than that. Who is this angel-like daughter-in-law who carried that burden and saved the troublemaker? Uranus brought Yin Wu inside of his tent. He ordered his subordinates not to let anyone approach them until he gave further orders. He observed Yin Wu with wondering eyes. Even though Yin Wu still looked like Kronos on the outside, Uranus was looking at him warmly. Yin Wu then wondered, "There's a big difference in how he looks at me and father. He questioned whether the love for one's son and the love for one's grandson were different. At the same time, Yi and Wu felt an unidentifiable emotion surging inside of him. He thought that, if he really had a grandfather, he would have gotten along with him well even though he had been on bad terms with his father. There were many things he wanted to talk about, but he continued to feel rushed. 11 hours 14 minutes and 25 seconds _ 98. 11 hours 14 minutes and 25 seconds _ 97. It had already been an hour since Yi and Wu entered this world. He said, "Grandfather, I know, you must not have a lot of time. But it's enough for us to talk, so don't worry." Uranus smiled warmly as if he understood Yi and Wu. "But I'm really curious. May I ask what your mother's name is?" Uranus continued to speak as if he was talking to a fascinating creature, and although Yi and Wu was worried, he answered with composure, thinking Uranus must have his own plans. "It's Rhea." "What?" Uranus widened his eyes at the unexpected response. "Is this the Rhea I know?" "Yes. I heard you're also my maternal grandfather as well." "Ha, ha 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 ha." Uranus's booming laughter filled the tent. He seemed to find it quite riotous. "They attack each other like mortal enemies every day, but what? They're getting married. I suppose they've grown fond of each other after all that fighting." "Ha ha ha ha, ha ha ha." Yi and Wu just watched curiously. He thought it was possible Uranus would be displeased that his adopted children were married, but it appeared he didn't need to worry about such matters. Rather, he thought that Uranus seemed quite pleased. I suppose some of his worries are eased since the reason why he took in 6 adopted children was to unite Olympus. But Uranus seemed a bit too genuinely joyful to say it was because of the political benefits. Yi and Wu wanted to see him be happier, so he added, he eventually had 8 children. "What, 8? Ha 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 ha, what a loving couple, so loving. That means they must stick to each other all the time, no?" Yi and Wu hesitated to speak that number, but he had added Jungwoo and himself to Zeus and the other siblings. Even though they were far apart, it was true they shared the same blood. What a relief. The long-standing strike between the Numa faction and the Quirinail family will end in your generation. You must be the fruit of their relationship. Yi and Wu's eyes flashed. The word he had been awaiting for, Numa, had finally appeared. "Have you heard anything about your father and mother's relationship?" "No, sir." "Is that so? It looks like your father didn't say anything about the resentment in the generations before him." "I did hear they were on bad terms during their youth. It wasn't simply bad, they were mortal enemies. It's because of the resentment that was passed down from their forefathers, no, from the beginning of time." Uranus's explanation was simple. The universe was opened at the beginning of time, and countless divine beings were born. There were many societies established and destroyed, so it was only natural that enemies would be made during that process. One of the prime examples was the Numa faction and the Quirinail family. It'll be a headache to dig too deeply into it, so put simply, the Numa faction was made of a group of lunatics who wanted to expand the universe. They would do anything for prosperity and victory. Uranus continued to explain. The family of Quirinail, on the other hand, put emphasis on honor and dignity. They were essentially a noble family that worshipped laws. Because they were complete opposites, they fought at the drop of a hat. The fact that both their history and tradition existed from the beginning made it more severe. Well, eventually, both of them were nothing in front of me. Yi and Wu felt like Uranus was showing off, but he pretended not to notice. However, the Numa family was already starting to fall before that. Each of them had such horrid tempers that they started fights wherever they went anyway. Because of that, the remaining members of the faction felt threatened that the faction would be no more, and they did something that shouldn't have been done. Uranus smiled wryly. They gave a seed with their energy to Mother Earth and had her birth a child. Quote exclamation mark quote. Yi and Wu instantly realized who it was, Kronos. Fortunately, I managed to rescue him, but as a result of that incident, the Numa faction was marked as a common enemy and completely collapsed. Uranus narrowed his eyes. Also, my youngest son doesn't know what Numa is. He lost his memory, and I never told him the truth. Yi and Wu's eyes widened. Then, Numa's sky is. It's their secret skill that Kronos should have received from his ancestors a long time ago. Yi and Wu finally began to understand the big picture. The method of using holy power that father learned from grandfather must be Numa's sky. Thinking that must have been the core of Scythe, Yi and Wu began to wonder what kind of beings this forgotten group was, and how powerful their secret skill was to be Scythe's core. Since you spoke about something my son hasn't received yet, I can only think that another being has entered his body. But that isn't evidence that I'm your bloodline. That's because of Numa's sky. Yi and Wu wondered what exactly that meant. The Numa faction sought after the expansion of the universe. Uranus spread his hands apart. Above them appeared a map of the universe with countless glimmering stars. It was the universe where the influence of Olympus was reached. He then added, the universe expands. It becomes infinitely bigger. There's a speed to it. The life continues to grow. Perhaps due to the stars glinting on the map, Uranus's eyes were shining. And that's what we call time. Quote exclamation mark quote. Numa was a group that represented time. They worshipped and admired it. They also represented it. Once, they even attempted to write the long history from the beginning to end into a book. The Revelations. They were prophets and warriors. If they hadn't been greedy and attempted to forcefully take what they wanted, they could have been standing where Olympus is today. Uranus smiled bitterly. But seeking time doesn't mean you're flawless. Since I won them in the end and stole their power, I saw a bit into the future. PSH. Uranus laughed. Although I didn't know that would be today. Yi and Wu closed his mouth. He felt overjoyed to have found a way to repair the spring of time, but he felt dizzy because it was as if he had peeked into the secrets of the universe. Moreover, he was curious about how the Quirinale family could possibly oppose the Numa faction, which had supposedly sought time for so long. May I ask something? Of course. Then what did my mother's family seek? Uranus chuckled as if it was obvious. Space. Yi and Wu drew in his breath. For some time, Uranus's presence filled his vision, heart, and subconscious. I create the universe with the latitude of time in one hand and the longitude space in the other. That's where the name of the ruler of the skies, Father of Heavens, comes from. Uranus burst out laughing. And that's me, Uranus. Time and space. Uranus said he was the Father of Heavens because he was able to rule over both. This was the explanation of how he had the domain of heavens, why he was able to wake up at the beginning of time and have an ego, and how he created a large group called Olympus. Of course, that doesn't mean I'm omniscient. Uranus's voice was filled with confidence about his abilities, but there was a hint of bitterness. I control time, but in reality, it's nothing more than seeing a part of others' secrets, and I control space, but it's limited to space within my reach. Even though I rule over time and space, it's only the small wheel. The laws of causality within it aren't something I can touch. Even if they transcended, gods, demons, dragons, and giants all said their transcendence wasn't true transcendence. They weren't able to escape the laws of causality spread throughout the universe and dimensions, so how could they be called true transcendence? The same went for Uranus. But beings who escaped the laws of causality and gained freedom were called differently, emperors. They were the rulers of all. So your grandfather is only half transcendent. Perhaps it's a penalty for taking what isn't mine. The me that I saw in the future was returning to my youngest son what was his, and it ends there. Just as Kronos had barely met Yi and Wu's eyes after seeing tens of thousands of futures, it seemed Uranus had seen something similar. In the far future, his descendant would come and ask for help. Grandfather might have been more. It might have been unrealized because of all the time that has passed, but maybe Uranus had been closer to the emperor level than Kronos. Kronos was just a greater object of fear because he was able to control death as the Black King's apostle. Based on omnipotence and freedom from the laws of causality, although Uranus said he was only a half-transcendent, he was probably above Kronos. As if to prove that, Uranus's voice was filled with pride about himself. It seemed he was asking who in this universe would dare to stand against him. I suppose he was able to take control of Olympus because of that charisma. Moreover, the official start of the Civil War had been when Uranus lost his strength due to Gaia's curse. 11 hours 8 minutes and 6 seconds _ 77. 11 hours 8 minutes and 6 seconds _ 76. But unlike me, who forcefully took time and space, you were born with the seeds of both Numa and Quirinale. Uranus's gaze suddenly became intense. Yi and Wu felt shivers down his back. Was it envy of Yi and Wu, who had been born with blessed blood, or expectation that his mission would be completed by his descendant? Or Yi and Wu couldn't grasp Uranus's emotions. However, he was sure of one thing. When he had said he was the children of Kronos and Rhea, it wasn't just warmth in Uranus's eyes. There was also ambition. It was the power of the conqueror who wished to take everything in the world for himself. Anyway, what you're trying to learn is the secret skill of Numa, correct? Yes, sir. Did your father tell you it took a significantly long time to learn? Yi and Wu nodded solemnly. Kronos had said controlling the holy power Uranus had left behind wasn't easy. But you don't have a lot of time. Kronos had also said Uranus would find a way somehow. He's just the kind of person who'd do that. Teaching you Numa's sky isn't difficult. I'll be teaching you something you'd have received some time anyway. There must be some reason why Kronos wasn't able to teach you, correct? Yi and Wu nodded. Kronos wasn't able to touch the spring of time because he was currently in a demigod form, living through Vigrid. We'll have to cram then since you don't have much time. Is there a way? Of course. Uranus grinned as if telling Yi and Wu not to worry. Yi and Wu stiffened in anxiety. Uranus's smile seemed ominous. Damn it, why is my instinct always right when it comes to these things? Yi and Wu's hands and feet were tightly bound by chains. At the end of the chains were heavy weights that prevented him from running away. Kronos' body should have been able to shake away most items, but the problem was that these chains were made of divine iron. Lord Kronos, what did he do this time? I heard he threw a punch because one of the other lords had bad breath. Is it because of that? There's not a day when something doesn't happen. But I can't believe His Majesty is throwing him in the night. What if something goes wrong? He must be thinking of properly disciplining Lord Kronos this time. The gods of Olympus were gathered and watched Uranus order his subordinates to tie Yi and Wu up. Must you go this far? Yi and Wu turned to Uranus with an astounded face. He didn't know what this teaching method was, but wasn't it too much to tie him up with divine iron like some criminal? The iron absorbed all the holy power in his body, and he didn't have any strength left. The place you'll be entering is called Night. I'm sure you saw it since you arrived. What did that suspicious night have to do with Numa's sky? It's also called Nyx. It's a monster that fell from the darkness that existed from before the beginning and attempts to swallow all the beings of the world. Void, chaos, and even abyss, they all lose their form and become nothing inside of that thing. Nyx. It was the symbolization of the night that was born at the same time as Mother Earth, Gaia. To be exact, Nyx was the conceptual god that represented night. Since conceptual gods are originally in that form, Mother Earth, who moved with her own will, was just an anomaly. Conceptual gods were born from concepts and did not have a specific shape. Depending on the being, they were powerful enough to swallow divine beings. They just didn't have the ego to do so. What does it have to do with the Swamp of Darkness? You know that too. The Swamp of Darkness is only revealed after defeating Night. Oh, I forgot again. Uranus smiled. It would be easier to explain things since Yi and Wu already knew. You can think of Nyx as a byproduct of the Swamp of Darkness. A piece of darkness that was torn from the creation of light. We've been fighting that thing for a while because there are many worlds that died or collapsed because of it. We can't let our territory be taken by it too. Yi and Wu began to understand. Olympus had been fighting against the night for a long time, and they finally succeeded, being able to approach its very origin, the Swamp of Darkness. And Father met the demonism while investigating it. The beings of order and the beings of chaos, they've been fighting for a long time. It was nice to know this since this was another one of the universe's secrets that weren't known in reality. However, what does that have to do with Numa? Uranus looked at Yi and Wu with amusement, as if he could read his thoughts. You'll know when you enter. Yi and Wu barely managed to contain the curses that threatened to escape his mouth. The chains were now wrapped all the way around his body. Sir, don't be so formal. Call me Grandpa instead. How could a grandfather who wanted to be on close terms with his grandson put his grandson in a monstrous thing like that? I don't need the domain of time. I just need the... Ha, how funny. A man should be prepared to go all the way. Are you going to be satisfied with just that? Go inside and learn the beauty of going slow and steady. Uranus wanted Yi and Wu to learn everything while he was already here. Yi and Wu became certain that his grandfather wasn't someone who could be persuaded through speech. This is definitely not to let out any stress about your father. Definitely not. Go on. Before Yi and Wu could finish shouting the word, wait, a huge god carried Yi and Wu on Uranus's command and threw him like a cannon into where Night was. Yi and Wu wasn't able to resist and was sucked into Night as he shouted. Splash. As Uranus warned, Night seemed to be trying to erase anything related to Yi and Wu's identity. Recognition, knowledge, senses, it was even swallowing the things that symbolized him. It was similar to when Yi and Wu had first entered the abyss. Thought control. Yi and Wu immediately lifted his consciousness so as to not have his existence scattered. I could see the remnants of souls about to reincarnate and the connections to other life forms in the abyss, but this place is completely different. There's nothing here. Yin-Wu spread his consciousness wider, hoping to sense something, but he didn't. Had everything ceased to exist? He thought large objects would have remained somewhat because of their size. He realized what it meant when the night erased everything it swallowed. You would become nothing. Even the concept of time means nothing in here. What am I supposed to learn? Yin-Wu felt frustrated. 10 hours 42 minutes and 23 seconds _ 32. 10 hours 42 minutes and 23 seconds _ 31. All he could see was the countdown. But even that was disappearing. The playback of the legends isn't working properly because of the disruption of an unidentifiable object. The time limit countdown feature is paused. It became a world of nothing. Go inside and learn the beauty of going slow and steady. That was the only hint Uranus had given him. Slow and steady. Yin-Wu still didn't understand. There was no better place to learn the concept of slowness than night. But it wasn't something that would help Yin-Wu, who was trying to fix the spring of time. That can't be the only hint grandfather gave me. Something else, what other hint was there? Yin-Wu racked his brain, but he couldn't come up with anything. The only thing that seemed close to a hint was the name of Numa, where Kronos' roots were from the group that had once ruled over the universe's time. Technically, Numa was a word that had philosophical meaning behind it as well. Spirit, breath. Along these abstract concepts, it represented desire, reason, and senses. Yin-Wu didn't know what the word had to do with time, but there was something that occurred to him. If viewed as a relative concept from one who observes time, the concept of time was very abstract. Depending on where in the universe you were, the speed that it flowed was changed. It was fast in spaces where black holes were, but it was slow where there wasn't any movement. That meant based on who was observing it, it would be different. Yin-Wu had a similar skill to it, time difference. How many times had he evaded danger thanks to this? Time was a relative concept that could be sped up or slowed down based on the thoughts and perspective of its observer. Observing the world from my viewpoint and controlling time based off of that is the meaning of Numa. It was only a little, but he felt like he was beginning to grasp something. Ding, ding, you have succeeded in finding an important hint regarding the concept of time. A new change is occurring to your time difference. Please wait, please wait. You are able to find the substance that can repair the spring. A new sense has been opened. You have obtained the second of the 6 godly perceptions, ear of the heavens. The application of eye of the heavens and ear of the heavens, you are able to perceive a new world that you could not view before. You are able to sense imaginary worlds. A new side of the veiled, night knocks, is revealed. With countless messages, something that was hidden beneath night released its chaotic thoughts as it appeared. What is this? It was familiar to Yin-Wu. The crawling chaos. Why? The problem was that he wasn't alone. What lay in front of Yin-Wu was easily larger than most planets, making him seem like a small dot in comparison. The being was more colossal than the one Yin-Wu had fought after combining with the demonism in the past. And the crawling chaos isn't alone. They just couldn't be seen because of the crawling chaos, mammoth size, but there were countless beings on par with the crawling chaos behind him. There were even a few who had more holy power than the crawling chaos. Night does imaginary world mean the otherworld? From what Yin-Wu knew, it was only after the tower had been built that the otherworld, the world of disorder and chaos, was able to be observed. He wondered if he had been mistaken. Olympus was clearly fighting a war with these creatures right now. He didn't know how much Olympus knew about these beings, or how great the forces these creatures of chaos were, but he knew they were most definitely a force to be reckoned with. There were a few gods who tried to flee because they were scared when I first saw Uranus after coming here. The night was undoubtedly a fearful opponent for even Olympus, where Uranus ruled. The heavenly world was pretty anxious back when the crawling chaos alone appeared. Yin-Wu was barely able to seal the crawling chaos after forcefully entering his world of consciousness. If they met face to face, he wouldn't have been so victorious. But here, Yin-Wu could feel the presence of cosmic beings on the same level or higher than the crawling chaos. He had no idea why these creatures were gathered together, but they weren't beings to disregard. These outer gods were among the highest ranks of the otherworld gods, and were called the gods of gods, so Yin-Wu needed to keep his guard up. Are the lower level beings about equal in strength to Bu? It's hard to tell in this body. Because Yin-Wu had entered a young Kronos body, there were many restrictions placed on him. Fortunately, it seemed these creatures were maintaining night, but they couldn't spread their influence outside of this sphere. No, it would be more accurate to say they were apathetic to all else. They didn't have any intentions of leaving the night. Although they must have sensed Yin Wu, the crawling chaos was the only one interested in him. If they could project their power outside of the night, even Olympus won't be safe. Then, a question occurred to Yin Wu. He wondered why they weren't leaving the night. Based on how night was expanding and slowly invading Olympus territory, they clearly had the ability to do so if they wanted to. Speak. While Yin Wu was deep in contemplation, the crawling chaos continued to focus his thoughts on him. As expected of the creature that had been most curious and most interested in the tower among the otherworld gods, he was curious about Yin Wu, who moved according to different laws of nature than him. Speak. What should I do? Yin Wu deliberated whether to counter the crawling chaos or pretend not to notice. He was still in Kronos' body, so he couldn't reveal his powers. Even if he could, he wasn't guaranteed victory in this battle, which would take up too much time. And as the message warned, if he exceeded the time limit, he'd receive a penalty. He'd either be swallowed by Kronos legends or end up wandering inside of them. The fact that I'm bound by divine iron isn't good either. Most importantly, if I get hurt or die, I don't know how Father's legends will be affected. Kronos' legends were already built up as firmly as the tower. If an oddity entered them, everything could come crumbling down. It was why Yin Wu planned on doing things according to the legends and disappearing after learning Numa's sky. But that would be hard given his current situation. Father's gonna be quite mad. More than anything, Yin Wu was most concerned about Kronos' reaction. If Yin Wu slipped up and Kronos got a hold of it, he'd make Yin Wu suffer for eternity. Even then, the crawling chaos continued to observe Yin Wu. He was showing even greater interest. Yin Wu was wrong in thinking the crawling chaos would move his attention elsewhere if he was ignored. The crawling chaos thought to himself, he might be slow-witted. Perhaps. How long is grandfather planning on keeping me here? Yin Wu felt annoyed at the crawling chaos that was trying to look into his mind now. The domain of fight reacts intensely to the external thoughts. It is cancelled as it has no relation to this legend. On top of that, the domain of fight wasn't listening to Yin Wu. It had been this way ever since Kronos legends began. Yin Wu pulled it back inside. Just leave. He waited until the crawling chaos would lose interest and leave. The crawling chaos, thoughts had already observed his mind. Since Kronos was still young at this point, he'd be seen as a weak lower god on the crawling chaos standards. Can he not feel me? Strange, there seemed to be some response. The crawling chaos gazed at Yin Wu for a while and slowly took back his thoughts. Yin Wu stayed tense and waited for Uranus to quickly pull him out. But suddenly, a part of the legends of the crawling chaos that was swallowed by Hades' spirit-eating sword reacts to the external thoughts. The external thoughts clearly sense the legends. It is cancelled as it has no relation to this legend. Damn it, Yin Wu widened his eyes. He didn't imagine the crawling chaos legends that Hades' spirit-eating sword had swallowed in the past would react here. It was immediately cancelled because it had no relation to Kronos, but there was no way the crawling chaos would have missed it. Do. The crawling chaos thoughts instantly transformed into holy power and came for Yin Wu, whose face stiffened. This is something to eat. I'll burn it, freeze it. Just then, an otherworld god who looked completely different from the crawling chaos came soaring from beneath Yin Wu's feet. The god looked like a colossal fire that would turn the entire world to ashes. However, unlike the other unfamiliar otherworld gods, it had a familiar aura like the crawling chaos that Yin Wu recognized. The demonic sea. It was the Lord of the Pole, who had been captured by the system after attacking it and became a hidden stage. He had appeared with all his might. Crash. The Lord of the Pole didn't pay any attention to the crawling chaos and widened his fiery mouth. Yin Wu didn't know why the creature was suddenly showing a response. But at this rate, both he and the Kronos inside of this legend would be swallowed. He quickly moved to escape. He had seen enough of the creature's stomach inside of the demonic sea. An unidentifiable power has been activated. A part of the weakly tied chains has been cut off. A part of the weakly tied chains has been destroyed. The unidentifiable power was the Yin sword. It wasn't a skill or a power, but something Yin Wu was enlightened with. It was within the same foreign boundaries as hacking or abusing, which was why the system called it an unidentifiable power. From the beginning, Yin Wu wasn't too worried, despite having woken up in this young body of Kronos. If he was in danger, he could use the Yin sword. It was why he let Uranus tie him up in divine iron without much complaint. But of course, part of it is because grandfather tied me up weakly. If Uranus really wanted to, he'd have sealed Yi and Wu instead of binding him. Yi and Wu cut off all the chains around his hands and body. Then, he tore apart the mouth of the Lord of the Pole who was trying to swallow him, almost splitting the creature in two. Crew, ow, hurts, hurts. As if to prove how he gained his status, the Lord of the Pole instantly disconnected from his outer body and successfully escaped behind Yi and Wu. However, he wasn't able to avoid being injured completely. He let out a cry that shook the night. Then, he dashed for Yi and Wu again, exuding thoughts of hostility. Dark sparks whirled around Yi and Wu. Each of them was brighter than the sun and made Yi and Wu feel like he was going to be melted. Contrary to the light, the Lord of the Pole's soul emitted an icy energy. You dare! The Lord of the Pole spewed dark fire with the intent to kill Yi and Wu, who was surrounded by icy energy that threatened to freeze him. Icicles fell from above like rain, and an intense storm of holy power attempted to stop Yi and Wu from moving. I didn't want to cause a fuss, but oh well. Kronos, legends could possibly be crumbled, and Yi and Wu didn't know how much Kronos would rebuke him later, but escaping the night came before any of that. Weapons first. Yi and Wu reached for the chains that were now whipping in the air. The fact that they hadn't been destroyed in this intense storm of holy power meant they were quite durable. He was confident that, when it came to dealing with divine iron, he was one of the best. Although his body was weak compared to back in reality, the weapon of divine iron would allow him to make a mark on most creatures. The effects of divine iron didn't weaken in front of otherworld gods. Perhaps Uranus had foretold this as well. Swish! The chains gathered in Yi and Wu's grip, connecting and condensing into a weapon with his holy power. When it was sucked into his hand, it had already transformed into the same shape as Vigrid. Whoosh! Yi and Wu released his holy power with all his might and swung the sword with the enlightenment of the Yin sword toward the Lord of the Pole. An unidentifiable power attempts to take over, night knocks. Quachua! The whirlwind of holy power that threatened to burn and freeze Yi and Wu was extinguished. What? The Lord of the Pole was taken aback that such a small creature could deflect his power. Whoosh! In the meantime, Yi and Wu slashed through space and dug deep into where the Lord of the Pole's head probably was. He struck down his sword. The sword thunder, condensed onto the edge of his blade, brought down consecutive black-red lightning onto the being's body. An unidentifiable power materializes, 8 extremes of sword thunder. Kruru! The Lord of the Pole's screams became louder. The domain of fight reacts intensely. It is cancelled as it has no relation to this legend. The domain of fight attempts to crush through the restraints. It is cancelled as it has no relation to this legend. The domain of fight, an unidentifiable power attempts to materialize its yin spirit form for smoother progression. An unidentifiable power interferes in the legend. An external legend is introduced. An external legend is introduced. The domain of fight has awakened. The combined application of eye of the heavens and ear of the heavens make your senses more perceptive. The substance has been recognized. The substance has been recognized. Numa Peen, Ma, slowly awakes. Many beings are watching you. Meanwhile, the crawling chaos moved back and watched the battle between Yi and Wu and the Lord of the Pole with much amusement. This legend isn't appropriate for properly materializing 8 extremes of sword thunder. The power hasn't appeared during this time period. It is not appropriate for it to appear now. The power needs to meet complicated conditions to be materialized. This legend does not meet those conditions. The legend of fight fulfills a few of the unmet conditions. The legend of fight fulfills a few of the unmet conditions. Crash! In the first place, Yi and Wu didn't expect to be able to use sword thunder to perfection. The legends Kronos had and the legends he had were too different, so materializing sword thunder fully was impossible. Most importantly, he was currently in the young Kronos body, which had lower physical abilities than his own. The King of God's body during his prime might have been apt, but the body during this time period would only be severely worn out afterwards. Even now, the lungs in his body felt tight, and the body seemingly threatened to collapse at any moment. If Yi and Wu took a single misstep, everything could come crumbling down like a sandcastle. Is he a sunfish? Why the hell is he so weak? What did he do before becoming the King of Gods? Yi and Wu allotted most of the burden to his awakened domain of fight. This could possibly have a negative influence on the domain of fight, or it could cause the domain to fight, but the basic fundamentals of fight were to stand against something. And the fight that Yi and Wu had contained a more abstract trait. Standing against the impossible, Yi and Wu'd overcome the impossible by completing Jung Wu's revenge by bringing down the 8 clans. He now controlled dragons and giants, and was trying to defeat Alpharaon, who no one had been able to stand against. The domain of death gave Yian-Wu immense power, but his true motivation had always been his ambition to climb higher, and the domain of fight adopted its owner's traits, fighting back and resisting the more it was pushed into a corner. It was disobedient and did as it wished. Even now, when his body was overloaded, the domain of fight resisted to show that this wasn't enough to defeat the domain. The domain of fight roars. Although this would leave its trace in Chronos' peaceful legends, the sword of thunder materialized and struck the Lord of the Pole. The external legends are recorded. The balance of the legends is crumbling. The creature's miserable cries shook the universe. Although the being didn't have any medium to deliver sound waves, Yian-Wu felt like he could hear the cries clearly. The Lord of the Pole was in severe pain, and he hadn't experienced such hurt throughout his very long period of existence. He must have considered mortals as mere bugs and, since he was ranked highly in the otherworld, he probably ordered other otherworld gods around. Thus, he only grew more furious after being humiliated by Yian-Wu, who was supposed to be a source of amusement. This hurts. I'll kill you. The Lord of the Pole exuded rage as he tried to catch Yian-Wu. The black fire around him blazed beautifully, lashing at Yian-Wu like a supernova was about to explode. Meteors that could easily crush most planets poured down from the sky, while the spinning black fire repeatedly ignited on the ground to burn Yian-Wu. Each time, Yian-Wu released his sword thunder to explode the meteors and extinguish the flames. Then, he began to move quickly to find the Lord of the Pole's core. Their corner of the night became noisy from battle, so Yian-Wu kept his guard up watching his surroundings even while fighting the Lord of the Pole. The crawling chaos got on his nerves the most, because he had no clue as to why the being kept observing them. The interest of the otherworld gods also put pressure on him. Usually, he didn't have to care about otherworld gods, because he could easily sweep them away with sword thunder. But there are too many outer gods. There were a few otherworld gods who were far away, pretending not to care, but they continued to show interest in Yian-Wu. They were on the same level or as powerful as the crawling chaos. The black goat of the woods with 1,000 young, the nameless mist, the source of uncleanliness, the green flame, and the harbinger, they were beings Yian-Wu had only seen in the revelations. To be exact, they were creatures who the heavenly world's beings only observed and had never actually faced. They had the traits of distorting reality, manipulating causality, and appearing ubiquitous. From the perspective of the imperfect divine beings, the outer gods were so powerful that they seemed omniscient and omnipotent. The orderly beings of the heavenly world were born when the universe was created, so the heavenly world creatures didn't designate any special names for the otherworld gods and the outer gods. They simply called them the 8 gods of disorder, the 8 divine beings who ruled over the vast, unimaginable universe. And because they had existed with the Black King, they could show phenomena that most beings couldn't observe. The heavenly world didn't know too much about these otherworld gods either, feeling wary and fearful of them. For transcendence, anything in the realm of uncertainty was fearful. Yian-Wu was only able to know about them after becoming the Black King's successor and seeking a part of the revelations. However, none of that has occurred during this period yet. The concept of an otherworld hadn't been established. The tower hadn't been built yet, and the gods and demons were busy dealing with the heavenly demon, who was getting started with his mission. The transcendents were also arrogant, believing they were everything in their universe and dimensions. Yian-Wu became more curious about Uranus, who was dealing with this existence called the night. But of course, he didn't have time to think about that right now. He was already getting a headache dealing with the Lord of the Pole and the crawling chaos, but the 8 gods of disorder were starting to focus on him too. Of those, there was one creature that stressed Yian-Wu out more than others. Resident of the border. There was a colossal eye watching Yian-Wu from the seams of the night. He had a powerful divinity that made crawling chaos and the other large outer gods seem tiny. The massive gaze shook Chronos' legends with a single glance. Every being in the night Nox focuses on you. The resident of the border observes you. The resident of the border is very interested in the fact that other beings live outside of the night Nox. The resident of the border is curious why he can smell a familiar scent from you, a being from outside the night Nox. Yian-Wu didn't know much about the resident of the border because he had only seen a part of the revelations. However, from what he knew, the being was interested in the realm of order but couldn't influence the tower due to his limitations from birth. When Yian-Wu first learned of this, he thought it was a relief. There was nothing known about the resident of the border because nothing good would come out of clashing with him. But now, the creature was showing interest in him. It wasn't a good sign. The 8 gods of disorder observe you. The 8 gods of disorder attempt to observe you. The 8 gods of disorder attempt to analyze you. The 8 gods of disorder. The observance of the 8 gods of disorder negatively influences your existence. A foreign matter substance of chaos has been mixed into this legend. A foreign matter substance of disorder has been mixed into this legend. Warning: if too many foreign matters are mixed into the legends, the identity of the legends will be shaken. It can lead to the destruction of the ego, so take caution. Warning: this legend has been exposed to an unauthorized location, night knocks for too long. It can lead to the collapse of the legends, so leave as soon as possible. The 8 gods of disorder could be said to be night itself. The resident of the border, in particular, was their king. And the fact that they were observing Yi and Wu meant the world of the night was trying to bind him. As the warning messages said, this wasn't good. The greater their interest and the longer Yi and Wu stayed in here, the grip of this world on him would become tighter. It was a dangerous situation. At this rate, Yi and Wu could be tied to this world or captured by the creatures, even if he somehow managed to escape. Grandfather wouldn't have thrown me into this den of beasts for amusement, so what are his intentions? Yi and Wu understood Uranus wanted him to awaken the concept of time. He also understood that time was just a relative concept based on its observer. The messages stating I've discovered the substances and awakened Pneuma have popped up. Then, after that, what am I supposed to do? Yi and Wu wondered how he could extract and use the substances after finding them. He also thought about how he could apply it to Pneuma and proactively utilize them. Yi and Wu'd been sensing the substances for a while now. When eye of the heavens and ear of the heavens were connected, he could feel something strange at his fingertips. It didn't budge now, but it felt like he'd be able to use it upon tapping into his holy power. However, since he didn't know how to use it efficiently, it'd only be a bother. There had to be a way to use it. By using these things called substances, there has to be a way to move the concept of time. Can I turn the attention of the otherworld gods towards that? Yi and Wu quickly found his answer, since he had been thinking of it for some time now. He deduced that the solution was within time difference. Time difference sped up my thoughts so the world around me seemingly slowed down. But what if I actually slowed it down instead of making it seem so? Yi and Wu racked his brain. I don't need to make the entire world around me slow down, but just the places I can see and feel. If I can slow down the wheel in this small place. He finally began to see the big picture when the pieces of the puzzle came together. The substances are the shafts of the cogwheel that make up the small wheel. Pneuma is the handle that moves these shafts, and time difference is how the cogwheel is moved. Yi and Wu's eyes suddenly lit up once he reached that answer. Congratulations! You have realized the concept of Pneuma. Pneuma peen, ma is, the breath left alongside something that awakened the beginning of time. By feeling this breath and accepting it, your soul will become richer, and you'll be closer to freedom. You have obtained the back pages of the revelations you weren't able to see. You have successfully taken a step closer to the secrets of the universe. You have obtained clues about the beginning and end of time. The Black King smiles as he watches you. The Black King watches his successor's growth in amusement. You have realized the foundation of Pneuma's sky. Messages of the Black King's interest popped up in his peripheral vision, but Yi and Wu didn't have the mental capacity to care. I need materials to expand the traits of time difference outside of me, and that material is probably my consciousness. I need to make thought control stronger than it is, so my thoughts can move the wheel of the world. You have realized the application of Pneuma's sky. The concept of consciousness has been added to the Pneuma category. You are now able to use Pneuma as you wish. The power, Pneuma's sky, has been created. I have to slow down the wheel of time. Yi and Wu swept aside the Lord of the Pole's flames, and his eyes darkened. The power, Pneuma's sky, has activated and interferes in the small wheel. The speed of the small wheel drastically decreases. The laws of causality are activated. Time is drastically slowed down within the scope of a fixed area. Information is being analyzed to have an accurate description of Pneuma's sky. Please wait. Please wait. It has been confirmed that you possess multiple skills similar to the power. The power will be amplified multiple times if it is combined with the skills. Would you like to combine them? You have chosen to combine the skills. The assembly of a skill is beginning. The skill, time difference, is being combined. The skill, precognition, is being combined. The power, Pneuma's sky, has been upgraded. Read the information window for more details. The information window is displayed. Numa's sky. Rank. Power. Numa is the breath of the divine beings born when light was created at the beginning of time. It is the key that can open the laws of the world. The one to obtain this, possess this, and inherit this will have gained the only way to approach the world's foundation, Yian-Wu murmured, reading the description. Description. This is a part of the prophecy that has been told from the ancient ages. It is also the fundamental teaching of the Numa faction, a group that existed before societies like Olympus and Asgard existed, a group that existed before there were gods, demons, dragons, and giants. They shouted that time was the basis of many universes and dimensions, and only after controlling it could you reach the secrets of the beginning. But as a result of their conflict with other groups, they had fallen to be eventually buried and forgotten under the long eons of the universe. However, today, there is an individual of their bloodline who is trying to succeed their will. Will the prophecy be realized? Substance detection. Substances are the most basic unit that make up the physical world. Aside from that, they do not have much meaning. They must be combined and formed to have a function. The user will be able to find these substances and activate them. The amount of substances the user can use is influenced by the user's proficiency with Numa's teachings. Time modification. A combined version of the skill, time difference. An artificial difference of 2 hours will be created between the observer's surroundings and the world the observer views. The difference during this time can be sped up or slowed up within the boundaries of the laws of causality. However, if the time difference is too great, it will be cancelled through the laws of causality. The user may be trapped in the changed time, so he must beware. Time examination. A combined version of the skill, precognition. For a short moment, the user will be able to examine the past, present, and future based on what he knows of the world. The examined time will be more accurate the closer it is to the present time. The combined Numa's sky with 2 of Yian-Wu's former skills was surprising. Of the multiple options, there was one that stood out to him, time examination. Unlike precognition, which only showed him the possibilities of a near future, he could use time examination to examine multiple possibilities around him from the past to the future. The drawback was its lack of accuracy the farther the time frame, but it was still a great weapon. This was the greatest secret behind why some beings thought Kronos had gained omniscience in the past. No, even with that aside, Yian-Wu knew how much potential this option had. When he first entered Kronos' dead body, he had seen himself and Jung-Woo in the future of Kronos legends when Kronos was fighting Alpharon. With that, Yian-Wu was able to arrange things so he'd be in the most optimal situations possible. But now, the greatest weapon that had gotten him to where he was today was in his hands. Of course, it wasn't a weapon he could use here, but this already made risking the dangers of meeting Uranus worth it. Whoosh. In the slowed-down world, Yian-Wu tightly gripped the sword made of divine iron. With the Lord of the Pole, the crawling chaos, and the other 8 gods of disorder moving slowly like worms towards him, this was the apt time. Time to escape. The 8 gods of disorder likely could ignore this movement in the small wheel, given their strength, but Yian-Wu was confident his plan would succeed. He thought, since they don't have the concept of time, if they were suddenly met with a strange concept, they'd be defeated before knowing what hit them. This was what Yian-Wu was aiming for. He didn't intend to use the small wheel to fight them, that would be pure recklessness. Although the concept of time was a weapon that would surprise them, they'd be able to understand the unfamiliar concept quickly and counterattack. Then, the weapon would become useless. This must be what grandfather wanted me to gain, Yian-Wu thought. Uranus most definitely knew that the otherworld gods weren't aware of time, which allowed him to toss his grandson into the night and expect him to leave safely. Yian-Wu, however, did wonder if that was how much Uranus trusted him, or if his grandfather was just irresponsible. Putting those thoughts aside, Yian-Wu quietly attempted to sneak away from the battlefield. I don't know the coordinates, but I have to get out of the night. Yian-Wu didn't expect Uranus's help. He believed Uranus would help him if he was in danger, but he'd feel more comfortable if he could escape with his own power. The question was whether or not the knight could reach the coordinates of the world. It would be easy to escape if Yian-Wu could touch emptiness, but he couldn't. The cast of the Black King really did make things easy. Unfortunately, that didn't mean he simply had a way. Whoosh! Black and red fire blazed behind Yian-Wu and steadily transformed into wings. The domain of fight attempts to materialize fully. Warning: the domain of fight is not appropriate for this legend. The continued interference of external legends into this legend could have negative consequences. Warning: The domain of fight is thrashing about. It has a large influence in how this legend is played back. It is advised you pause the activation of the domain. External legends are played simultaneously. The domain of fight materializes. The power, Sky Wing Right, has been created. In the slowed down world, black-red flames twisted into wings, and the sparks became feathers. Yian-Wu was sorry to his father, but he needed to find a way to get out of here. The solution he found was to use his sky wings to force open coordinates to the outside. It was quite easy to make the sky wings. Since he had created the sky wings himself, Yian-Wu knew best how they were designed. The keyword of fight was entirely his. It was different from the death he received from the Black King, so he could quickly recreate it in this slowed-down world. Whoosh! It was only half his power, but Yian-Wu could still feel the power growing inside of him. The amount of holy power around him increased, and he used his heightened senses to find the pathway to the outside. Here, Yian-Wu found the pathway of chains that were connected from the outside and swung his sword to widen the road. Sword thunder tore the space and ripped it apart before a black entrance that was a different color from the night opened its jaws. Yian-Wu was about to enter it when a message popped up. The resident of the border observes you. What? Shivers ran down Yian-Wu's spine. When he quickly turned his head back, he could see an door that covered the entire ceiling of the night. Worth observing, quote exclamation mark quote, is that door. The legends of the crawling chaos react to meeting their original owner. Darn, it didn't end there, and things were turning for the worse. Now, the crawling chaos was reacting to Yian-Wu. The crawling chaos squirms. The crawling chaos expresses curiosity in the unfamiliar concept. His interest in you becomes greater. Amuse fun, human, powerful holy power attempts to enter. The pneuma reaching for the small wheel has been scattered. The power, pneuma's sky, is cancelled. The laws of causality have been activated. The world has been restored to its normal time. Crash! The sound of glass shattering rang out. This wasn't enough. Yian-Wu's face stiffened. Kra, released from the binds of time, the Lord of the Pole came dashing towards Yian-Wu. Everything was hectic, with the ashy blazes falling onto him from all directions. It was a displeasing fire that didn't just burn, but also froze his soul. Yian-Wu had to give up entering the black entrance, turning his sword in the opposite direction. He used his half-sky wings to soar up to the sky like a phoenix before sword thunder that was stronger than what he released actually exploded apart. Rumble, rumble, rumble crash. Sword thunder was mighty with the added strength of sky wings. It not only tore through the ashy blazes, but also ripped through the blazes in all directions. Ah, crew, the Lord of the Pole's miserable screams echoed in the world of the night. It messed up the flow of energy within the night, and his cracked pieces fell below. The holy power that tore him up splattered his blood all over and formed a large galaxy. In the meantime, the crawling chaos began to send bundles of tentacles towards Yian-Wu. They were made of holy power. Curious you, curious, test, subject. The power, pneuma's sky, attempts to interfere in the small wheel. The laws of causality are activated. Pow pow. Yian-Wu continued to twist pneuma's sky, deflecting the tentacles, as he searched for a way to escape into the entrance. However, the crawling chaos must have given some orders, because the otherworld gods who had just been watching began to take action. Yian-Wu's senses were blurred at the onslaught of holy power, and he felt his own holy power being drained. You have achieved the accomplishment of God-killing. The opponent is a being that is not recorded. You can take some of your opponent's legends. You have achieved the accomplishment of God-killing. You have achieved the accomplishment of God-killing. However, the biggest issue was the resident of the border. His pupils slowly rolled up and became fixed on the entrance Yian-Wu had just opened. The movement only seemed slow because of his massive size. Beyond perhaps, father. Crack, crack, fizz. The resident of the border was simply looking at it, but all the laws of the night became focused on it. The closing entrance was forced open again. As if a steel pole was stuck into the small hole to pry it open, the entrance was torn with cracks appearing along the surrounding space. A wormhole that led to the outside was created. If that's left alone, everything would be ruined. Yian-Wu frantically moved toward the wormhole's entrance and shot bolts toward it. His attack's might was impressive with the added domain of fight, but it was nothing compared to what Yian-Wu used in reality, so it wasn't enough to block all the gods. You have achieved the accomplishment of God-killing. Messages that otherworld gods died consecutively popped up. Move, Irong. There was a ringing in Yi and Wu's ear, and the eye covering the ceiling of the night suddenly disappeared before something appeared in front of Yi and Wu. It was a being that had the same face as the young Kronos. Yi and Wu instinctively realized the being was the resident of the border, who had transformed into this body to move more easily. He slashed an otherworld god shaped like a firebird, which attempted to swallow him, before pointing his sword towards the resident of the border. Sixth extreme. Although Yi and Wu had reached his limits, he squeezed out all his power to use this skill. Crash! You dare! The resident of the border's left arm flew into the air. He cursed with an annoyed expression and swung his remaining right arm. The moment his palm reached Yi and Wu's chest, the holy power flowing within Yi and Wu was disconnected. Some of it flowed in opposite directions and ruined his organs. They were symptoms of a phenomenon the one-horned tribe called Qigong deviation. Pow! When the resident of the border slapped Yi and Wu's chest again, Yi and Wu wasn't able to resist any longer. He was swept into the wormhole, getting sucked into the outside world like being flushed down a drain. Is it here, where he father is? After leaving the night with Yi and Wu, the resident of the border made a strange expression at the unfamiliar feeling of the world. He still had Kronos' face, looking at a blue sky and black ground. It was a strange world for him, someone who had only lived in a world where everything was disheveled. However, the resident of the border didn't have any thoughts about it because of the pain that suddenly throbbed from his chest. His face crumpled. A sword made of divine iron had impaled his chest. Stabbing someone with my father's face, it feels wretched, but oh well. From far away, Yi and Wu wiped his mouth and spat out blood. Fury blazed in his eyes, and a new wing was flaming on the empty side of his back. The concept of death is forcefully awakened. The domain is forcefully recreated. Sky Wings left is being materialized. Yi and Wu hadn't intended on fully finishing the Sky Wings. He'd probably influenced Kronos legends enough, so if he regained all his power, things would really be dangerous. However, if he allowed the beings to roam about freely, the legends would be destroyed. The night was slowly streaming out of the wormhole and otherworld gods were successively trying to get out. He couldn't let it go on any longer. Swish! Yi and Wu's reawakened strength stormed around him and was about to erase the holy power of the resident of the border. Father, who are you? The resident of the border glared at Yi and Wu in shock. He had discovered traces of the Black King someplace he hadn't expected. However, their standoff didn't escalate into a fight. Uranus descends. A bolt of lightning fell from the sky and Uranus appeared, ripping apart the resident of the border's holy power while erasing the influence of the night. Oh my, I sent you to learn the true pneuma, but you've caused such a mess you're worse than your father. Ha! Uranus shook his head at Yi and Wu, but he had a proud smile since his grandson had grown stronger. Then, when Uranus looked toward the resident of the border stiffened. It wasn't one of anger like when Yi and Wu attacked him, but a shocked expression of meeting a mortal enemy in an unexpected location. Yod Thatig, why are you here? What? Yi and Wu turned to Uranus. It made sense that the resident of the border and Uranus knew each other from the night's expansion, but Yi and Wu had never heard Uranus being called that before. However, he knew the name. There was no way he couldn't know. The name belonged to an elder god, beings who held secrets of the universe's creation. And Yod Thatig wasn't simply any elder god, but one of the leaders of the elder gods. Eons had passed, and there were few who knew the gods, so the elder gods were fading away as remnants of the past because they didn't have any will or ego. Among the creation gods and conceptual gods who existed from the beginning of the universe, Yod Thatig stood out. If the resident of the border represented the otherworld gods and the 8 gods of disorder, then Yod Thatig represented the elder gods. But Uranus is Yod Thatig. From what I know, Yod Thatig definitely. Then, suddenly remembering what he saw in the revelations, Yi and Wu quickly turned to Uranus again. Yod Thatig, Uranus muttered the name and smiled as if recalling the old days. There was a time when I was called that. The resident of the border narrowed his eyes, scanning Uranus up and down with a strange look. No, you're not Yod Thatig. What you have is too unworthy for that name. You don't have the omniscience that transcends or the omnipotence that controls all. You're just Yod Thatig's leftovers. The resident of the border looked disgusted, judging Uranus as if looking at mere trash. It seemed as if he was being snide, but he wasn't. The resident of the border was denying Uranus's existence with a gaze of such loathing, signifying that Uranus was like waste that should never exist. Yi and Wu was annoyed at the resident of the border's attitude, especially since he had Kronos' face. Even though Uranus had pushed him to the extreme, he was still his grandfather, one who looked at Yi and Wu with warmth. However, Uranus seemed unaffected by the hateful gaze. Leftovers, that's close enough. But as you can see, I have a completely different ego and identity from back then. So what if I don't have that omniscience and omnipotence? He wore a cold smirk on his face. Beings like you stay in such a dark and boring place, and you can't move freely even with the power you have. What would slaves sucking up to someone else's ass know? Don't you dare mock father like. Father, ha, a being who was betrayed by his own subordinates. And he was beaten up by the heavenly demon and stuck in emptiness, wasn't he? That's why they say he's dim-witted. Quote exclamation mark quote. Father, aren't you sick of going on and on about that? He doesn't treat you as his children anyway. Tremble. The resident of the border's face became flushed like he would explode at any moment. He and the otherworld gods had searched to find the being they called Father for eons. The being had existed since the universe's creation but had been defeated by the subordinates who feared him. Since then, he was stuck in a deep slumber after being shoved into emptiness by the heavenly demon to the 8 gods of disorder and other otherworld gods. Just worshipping, or following, him wasn't enough. He was their everything. He was the foundation, the roots that allowed them to be. Thus, they called him Father, but they believed even that name was disrespectful and not enough. Yet, Uranus had reduced their faith to something trifling in a few words. He was cynically mocking them for their idiocy. The resident of the border couldn't stand by this disgrace. It was a while since he had felt this kind of fury. Open hollow corner bracket. Do you know about the creation of the universe? Uranus messaged Yin Wu, who was quietly watching the two, to offer further explanation. Open hollow corner bracket. I know somewhat. Open hollow corner bracket. It doesn't just seem like, somewhat. It looks like you know more about the creatures in the night too. I guess those creatures are better known in your time period. Open hollow corner bracket. They're inscrutable. All we know is what we can observe. Open hollow corner bracket. Really? Hoo-hoo. Guess our hard work wasn't that useless, after all. That's a relief. The word, "our," held a lot of meaning. It didn't seem like Uranus was simply talking about Olympus. He was speaking of beings who were higher than that, beings who were his comrades. Open hollow corner bracket. Light was first born in a world filled with only chaos and disorder. The universe expanded and countless beings were born, some also dying with the creation of new laws. The few who survived gained sustainability and opened their eyes to holiness. The light that was first born was the heavenly demon. The moment he first said, "Let there be light," the creation of the universe began. Order steadily began to take place as laws and concepts were materialized. Although they didn't have egos, they had the qualities of a god. They were the beings commonly called conceptual gods, and a prime example of these creatures was Mother Earth. Open hollow corner bracket. However, there are a few beings who existed since the creation of the universe. They once ruled the world with Father, but they began to feel scared and threatened by him, and they eventually stabbed him in the back. A thought flashed across Yin Wu's mind. In the information window of the cast of the Black King, there were traitors who were marked as S. The Great Father trembled in fury from the who betrayed him, and he began to resent the heavenly demon for putting him in this pathetic state. Despair, grief, and fury are the emotions that now move the Great Father, who is preparing to awaken. They were the beings who made the sleeping Black King feel despair, grief, and fury. Yin Wu then wondered if the Black King open hollow corner bracket, and that means. Yin Wu's voice trembled. It felt like he had opened Pandora's box in some place he hadn't expected. Open hollow corner bracket. In return, they were baptized by the heavenly demon and renounced themselves to light. And as they wished, they were able to create a new universe. They were happy and no longer had to be fearful of Father. So most of them found peace and rest and became synchronized to the laws. They didn't have much strength left at that point, anyway. Strangely, Uranus seemed to be chuckling. So there are very few who remember them in your time and my time. Even the gods do not quite remember them. Open hollow corner bracket. Open hollow corner bracket. However, they are a few delusional guys who think Father will return to make them suffer even though they stuck him in that place. They're such idiotic worrywarts. Yin Wu felt like his eyes were finally being opened. Yod-Thadig and the other elder gods were most likely exhausted at the beginning of the universe, especially after the fight with the Black King. Thus, they were synchronized with the new universe's laws of causality. But even then, a few who worried about the Black King's revival continued to be sustained in weakened forms that couldn't compare to their old strength. They endured despite being mocked as leftovers. Are Numa and Quirinail also like Uranus? But most of them disappeared, so is Uranus the last thing they left behind? Perhaps Kronos being chosen as the Black King's apostle and Yenwu himself being the successor, perhaps all the things he thought were coincidental and randomly chosen by the system were an intricate result of events from long ago. Then, what was the Black King who knew all these truths thinking? From the Black King's perspective, I'm the descendant of the beings who betrayed him. Then why did he choose me? Yenwu's head became filled with thoughts. There's definitely something to it, he was missing something. Open hollow corner bracket, but I feel the scent of our old master from you. Uranus quickly found traces of the Black King in Yenwu. He had read the death from Yenwu's left wing. I won't tell you to continue our mission. I don't even want to know what that dim-witted lunatic is planning, since I know that sleep can't be eternal. Uranus said that what happened back in reality was theirs to take care of, and that he was too old to do anything about it. But this right now is something I mean, we should take care of this together. It's the purpose I must carry to my death. Uranus's eyes shone a blinding light. SSSS's. Space was opened in that light before other divine beings began to appear. Huh, what's that? Why is that guy here? Damn it, I was barely holding on to prevent the night was opening. Captain, what did you do this time? This is why I said we shouldn't throw Kronos the troublemaker into the night. He made a mess. I'm done. If something goes wrong, those guys are going to make a fuss to try to find that dim-witted bastard's traces. This is pretty dangerous. My joints have been hurting every day. Arg, my poor life. Shut up, you idiots. Your loud mouths are the only things that have improved with your age. Get moving, Uranus shouted at the grumbling gods, all of whom lazily responded with words like, fine, fine. Their eyes were sharply fixed on the resident of the border. The gods, who had fought on countless battlefields with Uranus and created Olympus, were the comrades who had fought with Uranus to stop the Black King's domination. They couldn't hold a candle to their former glory, but that was why they blazed brighter than any star. Open hollow corner bracket. The night is the territory of the beings who seek their former glory and search for the dim-witted lunatic. They're dumb and pitiful, and that's why we have to tear them apart to death. The creation of the universe had no use for them, and the only thing they could do was roam around. Open hollow corner bracket, and we protect this universe from their resistance. Uranus took a deep breath and placed emphasis on his next words. We call ourselves Day. The messages stopped there because the resident of the border, who had contained his fury, was exuding a murderous aura. You insects, I'll step on you all. He released his holy power. When he did, the wormhole behind him suddenly became bigger. Night began to spill out of the wormhole and great darkness invaded the world. The 8 gods of disorder and the otherworld gods approached the ground. You've made quite a lot during that time. I guess you still feel lonely, huh? Uranus burst out laughing. Day, Eros, has appeared. Light spread between Uranus and the gods, stopping the expansion of the night for the first time. Metatron descends. Baal descends. Quote exclamation mark quote. Messages that Yenwu never expected to see popped up. From the day side of the sky, floods of archangels and hordes of demons released an onslaught of attacks onto the night. Metatron, Baal, why are they here? Yenwu widened his eyes. Metatron was commanding countless archangels while Baal was having the demons attack. They looked like how they did at the tea party Yenwu had attended some time ago, but their auras were entirely different. If it wasn't for the messages, Yenwu would have thought they were other creatures. He wondered why they were affiliated with the Day. I see, Yenwu quietly muttered. Then, they're also the leftovers of the traitors. He didn't know their names, but it was clear they had once also been in high positions and recorded in the revelations. Then, what about absolute good and absolute evil? Yenwu recalled the tea party that Metatron and Baal had held some time ago. Malik and L'Infernal were widely known, advocating for absolute good and absolute evil. They represented the factions of gods and demons. However, it was thought that they were negotiating to maintain the order of the heavenly world and reduce the conflict between factions as much as possible. Of course, Yenwu knew after attending their tea party that they were deluding everyone else and their negotiations were really a method to maximize the gains of their own societies. But what if that isn't the case either? Everyone's being deceived, Yenwu thought. Perhaps, order in the heavenly world was something that they had scripted from the beginning. It was possible that Yenwu was wrong. After all, quite a lot of time had passed since Uranus's age to the tower's time, and Metatron and Baal could have had a falling out somewhere in between. However, they were beings who fought for their ideals and prevented the waking of the Black King for eons. And Yi and Wu didn't think that their relationship could really be shaken by something like that. The reason why they invited me to the tea party might have something to do with grandfather. Olympus didn't have any points of contact with Malik or L'Infernal during Kronos' generation or Zeus' generation, so they must have had some reason for approaching Yi and Wu. Everything I know is being turned around. Yi and Wu chuckled in disbelief. He'd come hoping to learn how to restore the spring of time, but things he'd never imagined were going down. Krrng, KRRNG. Crash. Flashes of light burst in the sky. This was a rural part of the vast universe that not a lot of beings knew about, but a world-ending war was happening here. The archangels and demons trying to block the 8 gods of disorder looked magnificent and beautiful, like they were in a painting. However, it was a horrifying sight at the same time. Uranus and the gods of Olympus soon joined them. Every wave of Uranus's hand dropped bolts to the ground and burned the otherworld gods. I should step up too. Yi and Wu gripped his sword tighter as he watched. The pandemonium had already begun, and he couldn't leave just because he had already obtained Numa's sky. Kronos, legends could be ruined at this rate. Even if he didn't defeat the otherworld gods, he had to send them back into the night. Yi and Wu focused his consciousness, Numa. He was about to interfere in the small wheel by directing his holy power toward his sky wings, He suddenly felt a piercing gaze from among the demons who were in the middle of an intense battle with the otherworld gods. He turned only to see Agaras staring at him with an icy expression. Yi and Wu wondered why Agaras was acting like that, but Agaras simply returned to the battlefield after their eyes met. It felt uncomfortable, as if he had skipped over something because he didn't have any relation to Agaras yet. The wheel of time that was shaken due to Numa has been successfully fixed. The time limit is being calculated again. 7:35, 66_49. 7:35, 66_48. Alright, Yi and Wu focused on Numa just like he learned inside of the night and attempted to turn the small wheel by twisting the world around him. He drew the movements in his head for a smoother progression. Inside his head, Yi and Wu was a spring that turned a clock, and Numa was a small cogwheel connected to the spring that activated multiple other parts. When they clicked together, everything began to turn. The needles of the clock moved. The power, Numa's sky, has been activated and interferes in the small wheel. The speed of the small wheel drastically decreases. The laws of causality activate. Time is drastically slowed down within the scope of a fixed area. 7 hours 35 minutes and 51 seconds _30. 7 hours 35 minutes and 51 seconds _30. 7 hours 35 minutes and 51 seconds _30. 7 hours 35 minutes and 51 seconds _29. The countdown of the time limit drastically slowed down as well. The first being that Yi and Wu encountered was the crawling chaos, who had succeeded in following the resident of the border outside the night. Even in the slowed time, the being sluggishly forced himself forward and attempted to approach Yi and Wu. He was only a small part of his true body for now. The crawling chaos observes you. The crawling chaos is greatly interested in you. The crawling chaos is curious about the many phenomena occurring around you. Shwu, the large entity that made up his body, slowly moved like a cloud. The leftover legends of the crawling chaos that you swallowed are showing an intense reaction to meeting their original owner. The leftover legends of the crawling chaos request for help from their original owner. The crawling chaos expresses suspicion about your identity. You, not a being of day. Who are you? The crawling chaos was now outright doubting Yi and Wu's identity. It was only natural since he had seen his own legends inside of Yi and Wu. Legends were the identity and the path a divine being had taken, so having the same legends was impossible. If one had the same legends as you, it was only natural to be furious about it, but the crawling chaos was calmly analyzing Yi and Wu. He would have been displeased if a little insect was trying to imitate him, but Yi and Wu exuded the same scent as himself. It was strange. It could be proof that traces of the Great Father were still outside, but the crawling chaos didn't think that it was something that should have appeared already. From what he knew, it should have taken quite a long time for the Great Father's traces to be found. The fact that his traces were being discovered meant he was preparing to wake, but at this point, that was impossible. But strangely, the creature in front of him had the Great Father's traces and even his own legends. The crawling chaos wondered what that actually meant. Unlike the other otherworld gods who put instinct first, the crawling chaos had an innate curiosity, and he enjoyed observing and analyzing phenomena. At the end of his investigation, he came to one result: the being in front of him wasn't someone from this time period. In the far future, in some time period that the crawling chaos didn't know about, a being who had gained traces of the Black King defeated him, and the being had returned to this time period due to an event he didn't know about. This was the first time the crawling chaos was exposed to the concept of time, but it wasn't too difficult to analyze it. He wasn't called a tactician in the night for nothing. Anyhow, the crawling chaos planned on tying Yi and Wu down here. If he could capture the youth alive, he'd be able to learn many things. He could also speed up the Great Father's waking and learn much information about the day. Perhaps he could even learn about the heavenly demon, who put the Great Father to sleep, and he could even learn about his own end. Crew, the crawling chaos, complicated thoughts were directly delivered to Yi and Wu. Yi and Wu frowned at the crawling chaos. Joy. He enjoys the fact that he died. Death was unknown territory for gods and demons. Even the beings who had the domain of death weren't able to escape the concept. Still, they called themselves immortal because they wouldn't die from most things. The same went for the 8 gods of disorder. However, the crawling chaos had learned that he would someday die, and the strange concept had aroused his interest. How would he die? And after he died, what would happen? Would he cease to exist, or would he remain somewhere? How would his traces be left behind in the world? I knew he wasn't in his right mind, but he was worse during this time period. The crawling chaos had been like this when Yi and Wu encountered him in the tower too. At the time, he'd suddenly penetrated Yi and Wu's conscious while they were fighting just because he wanted to learn how Yi and Wu was connected to the Black King. Were curiosity and amusement what moved the crawling chaos? If so, the crawling chaos was worse than insane. I'll swallow your legends again then. Yi and Wu had already defeated the crawling chaos once, so he believed that he could do it again. He was also curious what would happen if he swallowed the same legends twice. An unidentifiable power amplifies the strength of 8 extremes of sword thunder. Pneuma is being focused. Yi and Wu activated the yin sword immediately. Sword thunder slashed at crawling chaos with the intent of tearing the god apart. The crawling chaos, pieces of flesh were tossed in the air. They were as large as islands, each of which took on human form to dash towards Yi and Wu. Crash! The human form had a face that was closer to Yi and Wu's than Chronos' face. It was a manifestation body that the crawling chaos had created from analyzing Yi and Wu, so it resembled Yi and Wu quite a bit. So annoying. Yi and Wu was displeased because he thought the crawling chaos looked more like Jung Wu. Although they were twins, they had subtle differences that the crawling chaos had recreated. KRRR. Boom, boom. As the clash between Yi and Wu and the crawling chaos became greater, the battle between day and night became unrestrainedly intense. This is ridiculous. What is the meaning of this sudden mess? I was going to eat cookies from Diva and have some time to myself, but that's all ruined. Ball furrowed his brow in annoyance that his long-awaited rest was disturbed. There were cookie crumbs around his mouth because he had come in a rush. Sorry, my grandson caused some trouble. Grandson, what are you talking? Ball trailed off, then stared at Yi and Wu working hard to defeat the crawling chaos far away. That's not the darned kid you're always grumbling about. It's that darned kid's son. Oh ho, I see there was a girl who accepted his temper. Rhea, what, did I mishear you? Ball picked his ear, thinking he had been mistaken. He remembered only a few of the names of Uranus's adopted children. He knew Chronos because of all the trouble he caused and Rhea because of how much Uranus bragged about her. Ball'd even been thinking Rhea would be nice to have as a daughter-in-law if he ever had any children, but he just found out that the 2 kids were a couple in the future. Ball looked at Uranus like he was speaking nonsense, but Uranus just grinned and shrugged. What can I do when they like each other so much? Pneuma and Quirinale are united as one. The descendants of the enemies who wanted to tear each other apart whenever they met. The world is going crazy. Ball wiped his face in disbelief. Then, he stiffened. I see why that dim-witted lunatic wants him. Is that why he exudes the concept of death that intensely? Let's just. If you're going to do something useless, I won't stay still even for you, Ball. You're being too harsh about a little joke. More importantly, Ball retreated and swallowed when Uranus glowered at him. If there was a vessel the Black King was interested in, it'd be easier to take care of him early on, but Ball chose not to. Part of it was because of Uranus's relationship with Yi and Wu, and there was also the fact that Chronos' body could die if Yi and Wu was eliminated. And there was no guarantee that would get rid of Yi and Wu. That being is going to make a fuss after learning of this, so take care of it as soon as possible. Ball changed the subject. Damn it, you're right. Since that being Detests anything getting too loud. It actually might be better off that the resident of the border is here, never mind. Anyhow, it's better to fight than chit-chat like this. I'll be off first. Uranus and Metatron turned white. They looked like they had thought of something they'd rather not. Metatron scratched his head with frustration, then pulled out twin swords from his subspace and dashed toward the resident of the border. The resident of the border wasn't an easy opponent, but he thought it was better than dealing with that being's temper. In the past, the being had struck Metatron on the back of the head simply out of annoyance, and the bump had stayed there for years. Swish! Each thrust of Metatron's white wings caused holy power to whirl and lash out in an attempt to shred the resident of the border. Rays of light soared to the ground and waves of rainbows spread throughout the battlefield. Uranus and Ball continued the attacks, releasing flashes of powers that ripped through space. It was 3 against 1, so they clearly had the advantage in numbers. The might of their attacks was powerful because it was the combined efforts of beings who were among the strongest throughout all of the universes and dimensions. However, the resident of the border just scoffed and deflected all their attacks as he shot his other hand forward. With the feeling that space was being pushed back, all the powers released onto him were destroyed. Soon, a tornado of night appeared above the 3 divine beings. Uranus and the others quickly opened space and attempted to escape. The resident of the border chased after them. Doo-doo-doo. Behind the resident of the border, the night attempted to expand, shaking. The day built barriers to push it back. It was a tight battle with neither side surrendering. However, the night's power was rougher, and darkness crept into the territory of light. As more of the 8 gods of disorder appeared, the balance seemed to be tilting in favor of the night. Uranus and the others moved busily. Just then, emptiness suddenly opened from far away and a golden column of light descended right between the boundary of day and night. *T, Uranus cursed. We're fucked. Ball paled as if he saw a ghost. Metatron quietly covered his face with his hand like he had been sentenced to death. As a wave of golden light swept by, the heavenly demon appeared with a growl, Ruyi Bang in hand. Be quiet, you idiots. My kid just fell asleep, but he woke up because of you fools. Do you know how hard it is to put a baby back to sleep? The heavenly demon descends. Warning. A great being who is too difficult for this legend to manage has appeared. The foundations of this legend may be shaken. Warning. A great being who cannot be interpreted in this legend has appeared. The foundations of this legend may be shaken. Warning. A great being who is too difficult to express in this legend is destroying this legend. Escape now. Warning. A great being. The heavenly demon scanned his surroundings with blazing eyes and a disgusted expression. What a mess. Quote quote. Quote quote. Quote quote. Such a mess. Uranus, Metatron, and Ball straightened their backs. They looked away to avoid meeting the heavenly demon's gaze. Sweat beaded on their foreheads. It was a strange sight. Uranus was as hot-tempered as Kronos, so his nervousness was an awkward sight to witness. The same went for Metatron and Ball, who were the greatest beings who had earned the fear and admiration of many gods and demons. It was no exaggeration to say they were the leaders that represented all gods and demons. At the tea party, they were the hidden rulers who controlled the fate of the heavenly world, but they were afraid of the heavenly demon. I knew the heavenly demon was amazing, but this is. They had betrayed the Black King because they were fearful of him, but there was no point in switching today if the heavenly demon was just as scary. Or maybe not. Despite the similarities, the heavenly demon is still slightly different from the Black King. There was a slight difference between the beings. Their fear towards the Black King was like a deep abyss that made death seem like nothing, but what they felt towards the heavenly demon was. It feels like standing in front of an angry neighborhood bully. Yi and Wu thought it was similar to the fear when a bully stole money from you and threatened to beat you up if they found any penny on you, then they went on to discover that you were hiding $50 in your shoe. Perhaps that wasn't the most appropriate description for the emperor-level heavenly demon, but that was how Uranus and the others' fear looked right now to Yi and Wu. Dazed, Yi and Wu found it almost impossible for the 3 beings who led the day to even make such faces. At the same time, he did feel the difference between their power and the heavenly demon's power that made no space for them to defy him. The resident of the border, who had just been fighting wildly, was still. He just looked at the heavenly demon quietly. The expansion of the night continued, but it had slowed down. It was probably difficult for them to make any rash movements since the very creature who had stuck the Black King in emptiness was here. A single misstep on their part would end everything. The atmosphere was tense and full of fear, but the heavenly demon either didn't know about it or didn't care as he called for someone while looking at the night. Hey, Ball. Why yes. Ball stood up straighter. His face was paler than before. Are you really gonna do things like this? I will do better. I told you to keep an eye on them, didn't I? Why yes, you did. But you dared to look away. Things have been relaxed around here since I haven't been paying attention, And no, sir. What do you mean, no? I didn't look away. Then what are those cookie crumbs around your mouth? Quote exclamation mark quote. Ball quickly brushed the cookie crumbs away from his mouth. The heavenly demon frowned. You're all so lazy. Why can't you do anything properly? I'm already tired enough because of my wife's nagging. The heavenly demon sighed. First, he slowly looked up again. We'll get started after putting those things back in their places. When the heavenly demon's eyes flashed, the resident of the border felt danger and quickly retreated. Flash, the heavenly demon appeared where the resident of the border had just been. He swung his Ruyi Bang with an annoyed expression. Space was pushed back and intense shock waves rippled across the battlefield. However, to Yi and Wu, it looked as if the Ruyi Bang was breaking the flow of laws hidden beyond space. No, it seemed like the principles in the world were focused around the heavenly demon. The flow of the world and the dimensions were changing. The heavenly demon was in the center of the universe, with the world of order being reconstructed around him. He was the core of the entire universe and the starting point of all laws of order. It was breathtaking to watch the world spinning around a single person. Boom! The resident of the border was blown away, unable to withstand the shock waves. The creature that Uranus, Metatron, and Ball had to simultaneously fight against was swept away like leaves in the autumn wind. Still, as if to prove that he wasn't the vice king of night for nothing, the resident of the border remained expressionless as he twisted his body in midair despite being struck with an impact that shook his divinity. He fixed his posture and stomped on the ground, which cracked open. Walls of earth rose around him, with night filling up the space between the walls to reveal countless eyes. The eyes were similar to the resident of the border's true body. Each of them were extensions of the door that observed and recorded all phenomena from that past to the far future, ignoring the limits of time. Open angle bracket omniscient observer close angle bracket. Open angle bracket omnipotent watcher close angle bracket. Open angle bracket entirety viewer close angle bracket. The beings exposed to the resident of the border's gaze couldn't escape it, and everything would be read. Thoughts, actions, predictions, everything. He wouldn't be bound by the restrictions of time and space, and everything that was read could be controlled by him. It was a power that adjusted the laws of causality enforced on beings. If he wished, he could twist their thoughts and make beings kill themselves. This was why the otherworld gods and other creatures of the night said he was most omniscient and omnipotent, except for him. The resident of the border controlled all the laws of the world. Open hollow corner bracket sink. Open hollow corner bracket shake. Open hollow corner bracket hide. Open hollow corner bracket dream. Open hollow corner bracket hurt. Open hollow corner bracket die. All the gazes fixed on the heavenly demon, attempting to interfere in the laws of causality built around him. The divine language that could do more than command others to do your will was activated. Swish, swoosh, the laws around the heavenly demon were twisted. The black fog of night that pierced through bound the heavenly demon's limbs and permeated his skin. It felt like the golden light that surrounded the heavenly demon momentarily faded away. Click, click, something clicked. Oh ho, you're pretty good. But before the divine language could change the laws around heavenly demon, it was cancelled out. Too bad. It's already over. No, it was a lot more complicated than that. Everything was cancelled, as if it had never happened in the first place. It was a phenomenon that Yi and Wu wasn't unfamiliar with. The clicking sound just now was most definitely the sound of the wheel being spun. Divine language wasn't something that could be evaded simply by manipulating time, as long as the resident of the border was looking at you. However, the heavenly demon had just casually spun the universe's big wheel, not the small wheel. His action reset laws of causality to their original state. Flash. With ease, the heavenly demon descended in front of the resident of the border. He twirled the Ruyi Bang in his hand, shooting golden light from its tip. The twisted space and borders that the resident of the border had set up around himself were penetrated and the light reached his chest. Boom. At the same time, the night that surrounded the resident of the border was torn apart. The injury Yi and Wu had caused onto the resident of the border's chest exploded and black holy power spurted like blood. All of his attacks and defenses were rendered useless, but the resident of the border didn't seem surprised. He already knew that the heavenly demon wasn't someone he could defeat. He considered it obvious there was only one thing he could do here: continue to respond to the heavenly demon's attacks. Open hollow corner bracket fall. Open hollow corner bracket collapse. Open hollow corner bracket disappear. The eyes in the night were still fixed on the heavenly demon, and they attempted to restrict his movements again. Of course, they were scattered before even being able to reach him. However, it was enough to buy time. The black goat of the woods with 1,000 young manifests. The nameless mist manifests. The source of uncleanliness manifests. The 8 gods of disorder that hadn't been able to manifest due to the disruption from the day succeeded in manifesting at once. They couldn't appear with their true bodies because they were too large to fit through the small wormhole. However, their manifestation body made from holy power exuded a pressure that bent the space around them. The coordinates of space were being destroyed. Each of them had a unique appearance. Some of them looked like orcs or trolls, while others were made of tentacles or crustaceans with multiple heads. They blocked the heavenly demon. Ha! Ha! The resident of the border panted with the wall of the 8 gods of disorders between him and the heavenly demon. Sweat dripped down his face. Holy power was pouring out of him from his injuries like a bottomless pit. It was proof that he had reached his limits in the fight with the heavenly demon. KRRR. The heavenly demon stopped his attacks and took a step back. Unlike the pale resident of the border or the tense 8 gods of disorder who had lost a few of their limbs, the heavenly demon was smiling calmly. As if he had just gone out for a stroll, he didn't even seem out of breath. His holy power was still composed. Uranus and the others quietly gasped in shock. It was difficult for them to handle the 8 gods of disorder after they had lost much of their divinity, but the heavenly demon was still as powerful as before. Emperors were beings so powerful that it was impossible to see just how strong they were. How many beings in this universe of order have that much power? The heavenly demon's other faces. Or Vimalasitra, who always sought strength, or the oldest of the 7 demon kings, the bull demon king, who is living a secluded life. Can they reach the heavenly demon's coattails? The 8 gods of disorder were also shocked, having thought they were the strongest aside from the Black King. Heavenly demon, I heard you were trapped in the library and unable to move. The resident of the border gasped out his words. The heavenly demon wouldn't give him time to catch his breath and regain his holy power, so he spoke with wariness. At the same time, he wondered how the heavenly demon, who had lost a lot of his strength after putting the Black King in emptiness and was recuperating in the Chang'an library, could come here. The only reason why Knight had been searching for the Black King's traces was because of the resident of the border's calculations that the heavenly demon wouldn't be able to step up. But the fact that the heavenly demon had appeared like this meant his calculations were wrong. Ha! You're so full of yourselves. Aren't you overestimating yourselves? The heavenly demon scoffed at the resident of the border and the 8 gods of disorder. Did you think this is my true body? What? The resident of the border let out an exclamation. You bastards will die with just a flick of my finger. Quote exclamation mark quote. Quote exclamation mark quote. Quote exclamation mark quote. The 8 gods of disorder were all shocked after belatedly realizing what he meant. Anyway, the heavenly demon smirked and adjusted his grip on the Rui Bang. I came while looking after my kid. My wife's gonna scold me if I don't get back soon, so let's end this nicely, okay? Upon understanding what the heavenly demon meant, the resident of the border shouted frantically, everyone, spread apart. Sorry, but it's too late. The moment the heavenly demon swung the Rui Bang, golden rays of light fell onto the 8 gods of disorder. Before the gods could escape like the resident of the border ordered them to, they activated their powers and created barriers. The heavenly demon had been targeting this, using Shukuchi to speed in front of the god closest to him, the black goat of the woods with 1,000 young. The black goat of the woods with 1,000 young, who had taken the form of a cold-looking human, raised her hands and slashed them down. Thwack, crack, crack, crack. Kia, boo. As she divided space into tens of sections with her hands, tentacles rained out alongside monsters screeching horrendously. They were creatures who could never be seen in the day's universe of order. They were most likely simple-minded, because they continued to repeat the same words over and over again. Mother, mother. The black goat of the woods with 1,000 young symbolized fecundity as the 1,000 young of her nickname indicated. An innumerable number of creatures in the otherworld was born from her womb, and her position within the otherworld was unequaled. The resident of the border was the vice king, and she could be called the empress. She had the greatest number of subordinates who followed her faithfully, and the creatures who had just been pulled out from the forcefully opened, Door, were beings who moved unconditionally to protect her. She intended to use them to keep the heavenly demon down while she crept into his blind spot and attacked. She didn't care how many of her children could actually die. To her, they were only tools who could be sacrificed at any time. Kakakaka. Her subordinates continued to rush towards the heavenly demon with the intent to tear him apart. Suddenly, the heavenly demon let go of the Rui Bang. Then, after activating Thunder Feet, he spun around. It seemed like he was moving lightly, but Yin Wu, who was watching everything, saw that they weren't simple movements at all. Heavenly Bracket. It was a type of martial arts Yin Wu had learned from the Monkey King's Exuvi. Crash. Golden waves of light soared up like vines of fire and were sucked into the heavenly demon's fist from the ground. He activated the heavenly bracket, Flame Wheel Secret Skill, and Fire Wheel Divine King Hammer. Pew! Just a single strike from the heavenly demon swept away the creatures the Black Goat of the Woods with 1,000 young had summoned and the Black Goat of the Woods with 1,000 young herself. It seemed like a simple flash, but her subordinates were burned beyond recognition with lashes of fire. Half of her manifestation body was also blown away and she was critically injured by the destructive force. Space was crushed where the heavenly demon's fist landed. That's heavenly bracket. Yin Wu was still fighting the crawling chaos, but his eyes of the heavens and ear of the heavens were focused on the heavenly demon, who already had the most control over the battlefield. Yin Wu felt relieved, but also realized how limited his understanding of the heavenly bracket was. The heavenly demon's heavenly bracket was lower in proficiency compared to what the Monkey King's Exuvi had shown, but it was complete. Heavenly bracket wasn't just martial arts or skill, it was a combination of both. It was a strength that maximized powers and interfered in laws to amplify strength that was more perfect than the Monkey King's Exuvi. Thanks to this, Yin Wu felt like his eyes were being opened. He realized what he had missed while he focused on training the Yin Sword and Sword Thunder. At the same time, another thought occurred to him. If I can connect heavenly bracket with Yin Sword. The Yin Sword was a strength made to break the system's laws of causality. Thus, if Yin Wu could strengthen it with heavenly bracket, he'd be able to gain more satisfying results. He thought the greatest thing he gained while in Chronos Legends might not be Numa's map. He had already gained a lot by finding this new path. In the meantime, the heavenly demon released consecutive attacks onto the retreating Black Goat of the Woods with 1,000 young. Pew pew pew. Crash. The Black Goat of the Woods with 1,000 young was blown away powerlessly, with most of her body crushed. She was blown into the territory where the night was shaking. Quote exclamation mark quote. Quote exclamation mark quote. Quote exclamation mark quote. The 8 gods of disorder and the otherworld gods stiffened. She might have been an incomplete manifestation body made with just a part of her consciousness, but the Black Goat of the Woods with 1,000 young wasn't one to be defeated so easily. However, they weren't able to continue with their thoughts any longer. SSS's. The heavenly demon's body suddenly started dividing after he eliminated the Black Goat of the Woods with 1,000 young. The art of creating shadows, which the great sage had used in his prime, was activated and multiple heavenly demons landed on the 8 gods of disorder and the otherworld gods. Heavenly bracket. Flowing water and rack. Shadow splitting. Swish. Just one heavenly demon had been shocking to the 8 gods of disorder, but there were multiple heavenly demons now. This was a disaster for the night. There are 3, 4 of those monsters. Fuck, that's a bit too much. But I'm curious, if that happens, is his temper doubled or squared? If it's squared 10 times, I think it's better for the world to come to an end. The beings of day shared similar thoughts as the beings of the night. Uranus, Metatron, and Baal were pale as if they saw a ghost. The heavenly demon's shadows continued to fling the 8 gods of disorder back into night and tore apart the otherworld gods who were trying to escape it. The struggle of the otherworld gods against the heavenly demon was useless. Even during this situation, the heavenly bracket's secret skills and abilities were imprinted in Yonu's senses. Just then, one of the shadows dashed in Yin Wu's direction. To be exact, it was headed for where the crawling chaos was. Aloud. Here difficult. Recover. Losses. For a long time. Then the crawling chaos calmly muttered to himself even though he was near death, still in Jung Wu's form. Yin Wu refocused on the creature. He instinctively felt something had gone wrong. Regardless, the crawling chaos suddenly pulled out his right arm and tossed it in the air. A part of the crawling chaos, legends have been split. The crawling chaos, legends you swallowed are responding to the split legends of the crawling chaos. The 2 legends are pulling each other to make up for what they lack. What? Yin Wu was caught by surprise. The crawling chaos, right arm scattered and turned into a fog as it moved towards him. Yi and Wu didn't know what the creature was aiming for. However, based on the crawling chaos actions so far, Yi and Wu kept his guard up with Yin's sword. An unidentifiable power refuses the legends of the crawling chaos. The domain of fight squirms. The power, Hades, spirit-eating sword, reveals its properties of Gula. It desires the legends of the crawling chaos. However, the legends were sucked into Yi and Wu before he could slash it with the Yin sword. With this, it will be amusing. The crawling chaos laughed monstrously. He had a satisfied smile on his face. Then, he was struck by the heavenly demon's punch and was flung back into the territory of night. Although his manifestation body was crushed, his eyes glimmering with madness weren't erased. Thump, the combined legends of the crawling chaos, squirm. Thump, thump, Yi and Wu's heart thumped furiously. Yi and Wu felt like the crawling chaos legends were being sucked into his own soul and not Chronos' youthful body. He wondered if the crawling chaos was trying to invade his conscious like last time, but that wasn't the case. He felt the blood circulation returning to his body. Hades, spirit-eating body had successfully digested the crawling chaos legends. The experience was uncomfortable and suspicious for Yi and Wu. The crawling chaos simply gave him his legends before disappearing, and the crawling chaos wasn't someone to do that. The creature definitely had some ulterior motive, but Yi and Wu didn't have time to contemplate any deeper. The crawling chaos legends became quiet, and the heavenly demon was cleaning the last of the night. Do you have any last words? The heavenly demon walked in front of the glaring resident of the border and stopped. We'll leave like this now, but you can't get rid of our longing to find father. Aren't you embarrassed to speak like a low-grade villain? I don't know what that means, but even you won't be able to stop father from waking. All right, go on now. The heavenly demon kicked the resident of the border, crushing his body into the size of the wormhole and returning him to the night. The blue sky of the day replaced the night. The tight pressure of the battlefield disappeared as if it had never been there. The manifestations of the heavenly demon all disappeared, one by one. Yi and Wu stared blankly at the heavenly demon for a while. The heavenly demon had a power that easily chased away the creatures of the night that the beings of the day had such difficulty fighting. It was a strength that was something to be admired rather than be envious of, even for Yi and Wu, who wanted to reach the emperor level like his teacher, the martial king. Open hollow corner bracket. It seems you know a lot about the heavenly demon too. I can safely assume you know most things that were hidden about the creation of the universe at this point. Haha, now that you know about us, I suppose you do know nearly everything. Uranus chuckled as he looked at Yi and Wu. Metatron and Ball were giving orders to their subordinates to clean up the battlefield the night the heavenly demon had destroyed. Open hollow corner bracket. It seems complicated. Open hollow corner bracket. It is. Of course. The reason why the legends of each society are all different is because of the secrets of creation. The creation of the universe might still be in Congress, and at the center of it is that being. Yi and Wu sensed some bitterness from Uranus's words. The heavenly demon was called a demon by the gods. That was why his presence was intentionally erased from the legends. The gods never allowed someone to be above them. They had also wanted to steal some of the faith he was receiving. Even so, the heavenly demon's presence wasn't erased, even becoming something that illuminated the universe. Uranus seemed like he was wary of the heavenly demon but admired him at the same time. Open hollow corner bracket. Still, even if you admire or respect the heavenly demon, don't worship him. His path and your path are different. If you try to follow him, all your legends will be destroyed. From the beginning he and we are too different. Uranus was worried that Yi and Wu might become obsessed with the heavenly demon. Although the gods tried to exclude the heavenly demon, there were many beings who tried to worship him, especially young beings. Open hollow corner bracket. You don't need to be worried. Yi and Wu tried to ease Uranus, but Uranus still seemed worried. Yi and Wu didn't attempt to explain all his thoughts to Uranus. He was just surprised to see the heavenly demon's overwhelming strength and the completeness of heaven bracket. Aside from that, he was rather more wary of him. I'm trying to pull down Alpharon. That means I might have to stand against the heavenly demon. Oh, right, if you see my son again, tell him I'm sorry. Yi and Wu still remembered what the heavenly demon had said in the past. He didn't know what had happened between the heavenly demon and Alpharon, but it seemed like while Alpharon resented the heavenly demon loved Alpharon. There might have been some misunderstanding between them. However, Yi and Wu didn't want to know any of it. Alpharon was an enemy, and there was nothing he could do if that meant the heavenly demon would become an enemy as well. That was something he was prepared to face. It was also why he didn't worship the heavenly demon although he respected him. The origin of his strength was from the Black King, who was the opposite of the heavenly demon. Like what Uranus said, their paths were entirely different. Open hollow corner bracket. Then that's a relief. Uranus seemed relieved but still doubtful of Yi and Wu because he didn't know what Yi and Wu thought. But close hollow corner bracket. Open hollow corner bracket. Yes. Open hollow corner bracket. Have you seen the heavenly demon in some other time period? It was a random question by Uranus. Open hollow corner bracket. What does that mean? Open hollow corner bracket. I don't know if I'm mistaken, but it seems the heavenly demon knows you. Open hollow corner bracket. Yi and Wu wondered what Uranus was saying when he suddenly met eyes with the heavenly demon, whose fiery golden eyes momentarily flashed. The heavenly demon disappeared and reappeared right in front of Yi and Wu. It was a speed that was faster than when he chased away the 8 gods of disorder. He exuded an intense emotion, murderous intent. Quote exclamation mark quote. Clang. Yi and Wu lifted his sword to block the Rui Bang coming down above his head, and Uranus dashed between them to deflect the attacks. Heavenly demon, what is the meaning of this? Uranus's furious voice boomed and shook the world. Metatron and Ball turned to look at what was going on. The heavenly demon glared at Yi and Wu with a cold face, a sharp contrast from his relaxed composure. You. It was a single word, but Yi and Wu felt shivers running down his spine. Instinct was telling him that if he didn't run away he'd die. Warning. A great being that is too much for this legend to handle is expressing intense hostility toward you. The foundation of the legends is shaking. Stop playing them back immediately. Warning. A great being who is too large for this legend to play is expressing intense hostility. This legend may be crushed. Escape immediately. Warning. A great being. The playback of the legends cannot be paused. Your possession of this body is not paused. The legend is being adjusted due to the great being. The order of this legend is being shaken. The legends are being destroyed. The legends are being destroyed. With consecutive warning messages that came up, the heavenly demon growled like he met someone he shouldn't have. You have the fate of killing my son. Why did my future self leave you alone even after reading you? Quote exclamation mark quote. Sorry, but you're gonna have to die here. Yi and Wu had never expected a thing like fate to exist. He couldn't help but be surprised. However, he wasn't able to wonder much longer. Run away, grandson, Uranus shouted while blocking the heavenly demon's Rui Bang. Crash. Yi and Wu had no choice but to escape with his sky wings, never looking back. 6th step Dragon Body Awakening. Releasing all powers. Yi and Wu had already released his sky wings, and activated all the powers and legends he needed. His current body wasn't too different from his body in reality, so he was able to attempt a quick escape. He would die if he clashed with the heavenly demon here. Chronos, legends were already messed up from the conflict with the night. But if Yi and Wu were to die from the heavenly demon here, the legends would be destroyed completely. Chronos, existence itself would be erased. It would be difficult for Yi and Wu to survive under the collapse of the legends as well. In fact, the heavenly demon had probably known that much. He probably knew this was inside the legends of some being and might have read something from Yi and Wu. Fiery golden eyes saw through all truths, and the heavenly demon's eyes could probably see even deeper than Yi and Wu's. Where do you think you're going? The heavenly demon pushed Uranus aside and stretched his left hand to try and catch Yi and Wu. Swish. Space was twisted inside of the heavenly demon's hand, warping chaotically. Although Yi and Wu had put some distance in between them, that was futile. Just before the heavenly demon's hand reached Yi and Wu's neck, Metatron and Ball opened the space in front of Yi and Wu and attacked the heavenly demon. I don't know what this is about. But you should stop there. Rumble. Doo-doo-doo. Blinding white sparks flashed and dark curses descended upon the heavenly demon's head. At the same time, other gods of Olympus appeared to block the heavenly demon. Thanks to them, Yi and Wu was able to distance himself from the heavenly demon again. You bastards. The heavenly demon growled upon losing his target again. Move, will you? Crackle, crackle, rumble. Golden light from the heavenly demon became a wall of lightning and erased the powers of the divine beings surrounding him. Ahem. At this rate, we're gonna get ourselves in trouble trying to protect a friend's son, grandson. Metatron stepped back and clicked his tongue as he looked at the heavenly demon, but his sharp eyes were focused on the heavenly demon's every movement. I don't know why you're aiming for Uranus's kid, but I can't open the path for you. We can't lose a descendant of Numa and Quirinale, so easily. And even with that aside, running any more amok goes against the rules of the pact. Then, Metatron pulled out his twin swords to confront the heavenly demon. Soon, archangels were surrounding him and the heavenly demon to fight. De Eros expresses hostility toward the heavenly demon. The heavenly demon tilted his head and scanned the gods. Pact, don't make me laugh. Wasn't there something about how that child might become the egg of darkness? No one knows whether he'll become the egg or not. Fine, so that's what you think. The heavenly demon smiled wickedly. Let's see if you'll continue to say that even after you're dead. Boom, the heavenly demon sprang to action. Open hollow corner bracket, everyone be careful. With a warning from Metatron, they collided with the heavenly demon. Do. What? Swish. Yi and Wu attempted to escape the heavenly demon's territory of recognition. However, the heavenly demon's domain was light. And there wasn't a single place in the universe where light didn't reach, so it was most likely near impossible to escape from him. Still, Yi and Wu attempted to escape as far as possible while Uranus and the others bought him some time. He was opening coordinates to random places, so he didn't even know where he was going. You have entered the territory of the godly society Diva. The gods of Diva are taken aback by the sudden appearance of a visitor. Agni observes you. Varuna doubts you. Brahma tilts his head. The godly society Asgard frowns at the unexpected visitor. Odin narrows his eyes. Thor watches your actions. You have passed the territory of Memphis. You have passed the territory of Dilmun. Yi and Wu caught the attention of many other gods while passing through multiple territories, but fortunately, no one stopped him. At the same time, he wondered if this really was inside of Chronos Legends. It was amazing how this mere legend could express such a vast world. The legends are being destroyed. The legends are being destroyed. The speed of destruction is increasing. It is strongly advised you escape from these legends. If you sink into the legends, you may not be able to escape. Yi and Wu stopped when his holy power was nearly drained. Even if he used a part of his true body's legends, his current body wasn't as complete as his true body, so there were unavoidable limits. This body didn't have Dragon Heart or the Philosopher's Stone. All of his joints were creaking because he was already overloaded. Ha! Yi and Wu was only able to catch his breath after surrounding himself with multiple barriers in case the heavenly demon caught on. He didn't even know where he was going. The coordinates were tangled and hard to calculate. However, since he had only moved towards planets where he didn't feel the presence of any living beings, he probably wouldn't be caught as long as he hid his holy power. He was currently on a dead planet far from stars where light didn't reach. What should I do now? Yi and Wu gritted his teeth, wondering how things had gone so wrong. Things had been fine until learning Numa's sky and peeking into the secrets of the day and night of the universe. He hadn't expected the heavenly demon to suddenly show hostility and was taken by surprise. 2 hours 57 minutes and 49 seconds _25. 2 hours 57 minutes and 49 seconds _24. You have less than 3 hours left. It is advised you quickly complete your mission and come out of the legends. If you exceed the time limit, your ego may be swallowed by the extended playback of the legends. The clock was ticking even now, because Yi and Wu could only slow down time with Numa's sky by this much. But if it wasn't even for that, he would have exceeded the time limit and been buried under the legends while escaping. There was an extremely short amount of time left, and the legends were crumbling even in this moment. Yi and Wu predicted that the remaining time he had and the time it took for these legends to be completely destroyed were about the same. The playback of the legends wasn't showing any intention of stopping. But even if it did, Yi and Wu couldn't allow that. He needed to find a way for the legends to be restored and not destroyed. He couldn't let his father sacrifice for him again. However, he had to move freely to find a solution, and he wasn't able to do that because he didn't know when the heavenly demon would appear. He could be found here at any moment too, since the Emperor level, heavenly demon most likely had domains of omniscience and omnipotence. Is grandfather safe? Yi and Wu worried about the safety of Uranus, Metatron, Baal, and the other members of the day. He hoped everyone was alright. Although the heavenly demon was working with the day, Yi and Wu didn't think the heavenly demon would leave alone beings he thought were enemies. His heart felt as heavy as stone. Damn it, Yi and Wu clenched his fists. He desperately needed to find a solution, one that tied the heavenly demon down and restored the legends. He also needed to do it quickly because there was not enough time left. He wondered if there would be such a rectifying solution. There is one. A thought flashed past Yi and Wu's mind, but he soon frowned. It might be possible, but the likelihood of it worsening the situation of the legends. I agree with that. Suddenly, familiar thoughts rang inside of Yi and Wu's head. The absorbed two legends of the crawling chaos are combined and create an ego. The ego of the crawling chaos smirks at you. Yi and Wu stiffened. What is this? Why am I suddenly feeling the crawling chaos? I definitely saw the heavenly demon fling him into the territory of the night. Or has the crawling chaos crossed over from the night from here? He reflexively moved his hand for his sword and activated Sword Thunder. Can't find even if you do. The creature snickered at Yi and Wu, who soon realized that the being wasn't around him but inside of his soul. Open hollow corner bracket is this working? The crawling chaos refined his thoughts into one and began to speak. He had a content smile on his face. Organizing my thoughts into language is more efficient and expressive than emanating thoughts. It does have the disadvantage of my thoughts becoming uniform and dull because the process is too simple, but there seems to be no better communication method than this. Even lowly beings have something to teach. The separated legend, did you mix that with the remnant legends to awaken your ego? Yi and Wu recalled how the crawling chaos tore off an arm and fed it to Hades, spirit-eating sword, before being chased away by the heavenly demon. He did see that the two legends had responded to each other, but he didn't know this was what that meant. Open hollow corner bracket I can't stand being curious. Kiki. To the crawling chaos, Yi and Wu was like a bonanza of knowledge. To him, Yi and Wu was a being who had come from another time period, from the world of the day, which was completely different from the night. And Yi and Wu had even killed him, so his curiosity only grew from there. The crawling chaos had torn off a piece of himself, thinking he wouldn't find an amusing opportunity like this again. Open hollow corner bracket and you're wrong about one thing. What are you talking about? Open hollow corner bracket I never separated my legends, even though I did throw away a part one didn't need. Quote exclamation mark quote. Yi and Wu immediately widened his eyes. He realized that the ego inside of him was the crawling chaos, true body, and the one that was flung into the territory of night was a copy. Although the crawling chaos had awakened his ego, he couldn't hurt Yi and Wu. He was already digested. It was already amazing that he was able to maintain an ego. Yi and Wu couldn't understand his craziness at all, and it was why Yi and Wu couldn't leave him alone. It was uncomfortable. Since I don't know what he's planning, I should just separate his legends and throw them out. Yi and Wu's eyes flashed coldly. Open hollow corner bracket hoo-hoo. It's nice that you're thinking of how to get rid of me, but do you have time for that? The crawling chaos snickered. Yi and Wu quickly looked up. The heavenly demon's gaze is approaching. Yi and Wu didn't know what happened, but it seemed the heavenly demon had escaped the day and was searching for him. Light was approaching the dark planet as a single ray of golden light, the heavenly demon's gaze. And no matter how many barriers Yi and Wu surrounded himself with, he'd be caught once that gaze reached him. Yi and Wu set aside his concern about the crawling chaos and gripped his sword. His holy power wasn't restored yet, but he either needed to face the heavenly demon head-on or attempt another escape. He swallowed, keeping his guard up against the gaze that was coming closer. Open hollow corner bracket should I help you? What? Open hollow corner bracket I can help you escape from the heavenly demon's gaze. There would be no point in my moving my ego here if you die, would there? Yi and Wu felt uneasy about receiving the crawling chaos help, but he wasn't in the situation to be picky. How can you help? Open hollow corner bracket the heavenly demon is light itself, so being covered by darkness will take care of it. I heard we're called night. Then, we can borrow that power and hide inside of darkness. But, open hollow corner bracket you want to ask if we have enough time. I don't think that will be too difficult for Father's successor. You can also use those strange laws. Yi and Wu nodded at the crawling chaos, advice to use Numa's sky. The power, Numa's sky, is activated and interferes in the small wheel. The speed of the small wheel is drastically slowed down. Laws of causality are activated. Time is drastically slowed down within the scope of a fixed area. After slowing down the area around him, Yi and Wu began to make a new barrier as the crawling chaos told him. He had a history of researching the Emerald Tablet in the past, so it wasn't too difficult to understand the knowledge of the otherworld. The gaze of the heavenly demon moves toward you. The gaze of the heavenly demon has reached your barrier. The gaze of the heavenly demon observes you. Soon, the ray of light approached and remained on Yi and Wu's barrier for a while. Yi and Wu was tense. The heavenly demon could see things that gods couldn't. He alone was free from the limits of time and space, and he could observe everything. However, he needed light as a medium for that. Yanwu knew what the crawling chaos said about covering light with darkness wasn't wrong. But still, he couldn't help but be nervous as someone on the run. The gaze of the heavenly demon has discovered something suspicious. It is a territory that light cannot reach. The gaze of the heavenly demon carefully checks the surroundings of the barrier. The only thing Yanwu could do was hope the heavenly demon wouldn't discover anything and leave. However, in preparation for the unexpected, he tightly gripped his sword. He didn't use any holy power in case the faintest trace of it crept through the barrier. His hands were drenched with sweat. The gaze of the heavenly demon reaches you. Similar messages continued to pop up in front of Yanwu. The gaze of the heavenly demon is confused. The gaze of the heavenly demon was not able to find any strange phenomena. The gaze of the heavenly demon leaves. The ray of golden light continued to observe the suspicious barrier, but it left when it couldn't find anything out of place. Open hollow corner bracket. I'm sure you don't plan on moving right away. The crawling chaos warned Yanwu, thinking he might have something else up his sleeve. But of course, Yanwu didn't budge. The heavenly demon appeared cynical and uncaring, but he was actually discreet and careful. He wouldn't leave such a suspicious place so easily. The gaze of the heavenly demon peeks back in this direction. The gaze of the heavenly demon has left. The heavenly demon pretended like he was leaving only to return to check once more. However, even after the ray of golden light left completely, Yanwu stayed where he was for a long while. He only moved again when there was nothing around him. He was exhausted. Although he hadn't moved, the nervousness had taken a toll on his mind. His clothes were drenched in sweat. Yanwu looked at the barrier he had created with curiosity. He didn't know simply applying the laws of the night would have these results. The world of knowledge was truly boundless, and the crawling chaos probably had the most knowledge out of everyone. Yanwu began to contemplate what to do about the crawling chaos. Open hollow corner bracket. You must know that although we put out the most urgent fire, it's not over yet, right? The crawling chaos instantly caught onto Yanwu's thoughts and naturally changed the subject. He was subtly asking how Yanwu could throw him away when he was so useful. The heavenly demon would continue to chase after Yanwu, so Yanwu would need his knowledge and judgment. After proving his worth once, he was trying to convince Yanwu that, together, they could turn the tables. The crawling chaos is very opportunistic. Yanwu understood a bit how the giants and dragons fell for the crawling chaos tricks. Open hollow corner bracket. So, I was thinking. Yanwu quietly weighed the advantages and disadvantages he'd have if he continued working with the crawling chaos like this. To have the balance weigh more in his favor, the crawling chaos whispered in a low voice. I think the first method you came up with is quite viable. If we execute that well, we can take care of this crisis and solve the problem you're facing as well. Yanwu's face stiffened. You, open hollow corner bracket. I can tell what kind of situation you're in based on the information I learned after entering you. The crawling chaos continued in a flippant manner. Possessing someone's legends because of some mission and then being trapped in those legends through some unforeseen variable. If that's the case, it's not so strange for someone who harmed me in the future to appear during this time period, is it? Quote, open hollow corner bracket. However, the probability and truthfulness are too unlikely for this to the legends of a single being. But that wouldn't be strange if the owner of these legends is someone that powerful. So, what are you trying to say? Open hollow corner bracket. Furthermore, technically, there have been cases of beings with the same crisis as you. There were similar cases. Does an answer possibly lie within them? Yanwu pressed his lips together. He decided it was worth listening to the crawling chaos further. He wanted to see what the crawling chaos wanted. Open hollow corner bracket. Legends become the foundation of individuals when their accomplishments are upgraded. Domain, rank, power, everything is based on legends. However, that's just a simple definition. When looking at the bare legends themselves, legends are really stories. Close hollow corner bracket. As the crawling chaos continued to speak, Yanwu's heart strangely felt ticklish. Legends are stories of individuals that are being told to the world. Then they'll be retold by their followers and result in faith. The legends will be tied to laws. But when looking at it from another angle, it means you only have to protect the main points if you want to maintain the legends. A thought suddenly occurred to Yanwu. Does that mean I can just change the direction so the flow of the story doesn't change? Open hollow corner bracket. Yes. All you have to do is make sure the ending is fixed. Yanwu began to get a grasp on what to do. Open hollow corner bracket. If the heavenly demon running rampant is the problem, you can just make a greater problem for the heavenly demon so he can no longer pay any attention to you. Although the crawling chaos had brought up the solution, this was a method that Yi and Wu had actually just been thinking about. However, he wasn't able to bring himself to attempt it because it would cause greater pandemonium. But the crawling chaos was encouraging Yi and Wu to go forward with those plans. And I'm confident I can be of enough help with that method. Yi and Wu felt like, if he could see the crawling chaos would probably be snickering. Open hollow corner bracket. Let's awaken, Father, together. We can fix the end of this legend after that. And the heavenly demon, no one knows. He might have returned to the Chang'an library. Damn it. Uranus kicked a nearby pile of rocks at Metatron's reply. Fury boiled inside of him. He hadn't felt this angry in hundreds of years. The gods with Uranus were holding their breaths because they didn't know what to do. The heavenly demon had stopped fighting them and disappeared, leaving only a shadow behind. Since both Malik and our guys are searching for him, why don't you hold on to your bearings and wait a little while? Baal tried to appease him, but Uranus's crumpled face showed no sign of easing up. But in truth, Baal knew his words couldn't be of much comfort. The heavenly demon was very persistent and obsessive. It might have been those qualities that allowed him to be who he was today, but there was no greater fear than that for his enemies. The heavenly demon's persistent fangs always instigated fear. There were some gods and demons who had clashed with him only to die from their extreme anxiety and nervousness. But now, the heavenly demon's obsessiveness was directed toward Yi and Wu. Uranus couldn't help but feel anxious. The soldiers of Day, including Malik and L'Infernal, had scattered throughout the universe in search of Yi and Wu, but it wouldn't be easy to find someone in this vast universe, especially if they hid their presence. The protests that were just audible a few moments ago can't be heard anymore. Where did he go? Did he go toward the outer universe? The societies had protested when a creature suddenly invaded their territory, but it was quiet now. Uranus thought, is no news good news, or has Yi and Wu been caught by the heavenly demon? I'm going crazy. I need sugar. Baal frowned and swept his hair. He felt too frustrated, and wanted some of the cookies and candies he left at home. No, perhaps, he'd feel better with a cigar in his mouth. The reason why he had become interested in sweets in the first place was to quit smoking. He could just go to Deva and ask Brahma for one, but he was too lazy and frustrated to do that. I'm sorry to Uranus, but this might be better in the long run. A candidate for the egg is gone now. Baal furiously scratched his head. I must be crazy. I shouldn't think about useless things like this. A strong candidate for the egg disappearing was definitely a good thing in the long run, and it was something to be welcomed with open arms. However, Baal decided not to even consider it. If they let a friend's grandson be injured because they were scared of the Black King, they'd be no different from the Black King they betrayed. The existence of the egg was fearful, but that was something the child had to deal with. All Baal could do was be faithful to this time period, so he had to do his best to find that child. Even if he's chosen as the egg, he's descended from both Quirinale and Numa. There might be some solution. Baal's eyes shone with contemplation. Since they were the first to face that dim-witted lunatic. As he cleared his mind, Baal was about to check the reports from L'Infernal again when an urgent message popped up. Open hollow corner bracket. Sir, I've found Kronos. It was from Malphas, the 39th in rank. Baal quickly looked up. What? Where is it? Open hollow corner bracket. A planet called Jaya, which is under Veda's jurisdiction. But, open hollow corner bracket. What is it? Is there a problem? Baal became tense, thinking the heavenly demon had found Yi and Wu first. Open hollow corner bracket. And no close hollow corner bracket. Open hollow corner bracket. Then. Open hollow corner bracket. He's picking a fight. Open hollow corner bracket. What? Baal turned blank, not understanding. He didn't know how there was a relation between finding Yi and Wu picking a fight. However, Malphas seemed surprised as well. He went to the protector god of Jaya, Vyasa, and punched her. Open hollow corner bracket. Open hollow corner bracket. He also beat up the forces who went in to assist Vyasa, and Deva is now angrily chasing after him. Open hollow corner bracket. Close hollow corner bracket. Baal felt his mind go blank. He knew that Yi and Wu was currently being chased after the heavenly demon, so he couldn't understand why the child would go and cause trouble in another society's territory. However, his confusion didn't end there. As if they had been waiting, he received a flood of reports from his other subordinates. Open hollow corner bracket. Bali was injured in Asgard's territory, Valhalla, and they sent a squad to chase after Kronos. Open hollow corner bracket Min of Memphis was hurt in there. Open hollow corner bracket Dilmun warned that they'll hold Olympus responsible and declare war. Open hollow corner bracket Zesknali is also chasing. Quote quote, quote quote. Ball was thoroughly confused. Sweat beaded on Ball's forehead as he turned to meet the gaze of Metatron, who was sweating like him. It seemed they were receiving similar reports. Do-do-do. The blue sky quaked, covered in the dust rising from the ground below. Black lightning rained down onto the ground, heating the atmosphere. The heat wasn't able to escape anywhere, causing a greenhouse effect, and the planet became more similar to hell. Hellfire erupted between the cracked ground. From the planet's perspective, this could only be described with a single word: disaster. Open hollow corner bracket damn it. Open hollow corner bracket Kronos. What is the meaning of this? Open hollow corner bracket does Olympus really want Asgard as an enemy? Open hollow corner bracket this will never be forgiven. The Brynhildr kingdom was a rather special territory to Asgard. Because it overlapped with the territories of Diva, Olympus, and Memphis, there were a significant number of soldiers always keeping watch. However, those efforts were rendered futile in front of a single person. Open hollow corner bracket ha ha ha. It was a good choice to abandon the night and switch over to you. I never thought I'd witness such crazy events in quick succession. The crawling chaos exploded in laughter, watching through Yin Wu's eyes, as the Brynhildr kingdom collapsed. After he suggested they search for father together, Yin Wu hadn't given any response and just moved to take action. He headed for other societies, territories. Most gods were very attached to their territories, so it wasn't strange for any trespassers to be eliminated immediately. However, the gods who realized the identity of the body Yin Wu currently possessed simply warned him to step away. Sorry, but I'm going to make a mess of this place. You should all escape. Question mark. The owner of this body will take care of the compensations, so don't worry about that. They say fathers are supposed to fix their sons' mistakes, right? But Yin Wu just calmly told the gods to leave if they didn't want to get hurt. Of course, the owners of the territories were infuriated. But Yin Wu excused his actions by saying he'd already warned them, so they were responsible for the aftermath and no planet could possibly withstand sky wings and sword thunder. Yin Wu's powers were on a king level, so he could crush most planets with his eyes closed. Now, he was attacking the planet with all his strength, so there was nothing the lower-level gods could do about it. After the planet was in ruins, Yin Wu traveled through other planets and caused all sorts of trouble. The crawling chaos was astounded. He was the one to say they should find an awake father together, but Yin Wu had thought of it first. But Yin Wu hadn't responded to his suggestion and was now tearing through innocent societies, essentially holding up a neon sign pointing the way for the heavenly demon to find him. The crawling chaos wondered if this was a new way to commit suicide, but he quickly caught onto Yin Wu's plan. Yes, pandemonium can be covered up with greater pandemonium. Ha ha ha. The louder the crawling chaos, laughter, the more annoyed Yin Wu became. He muttered, I didn't want to do anything this bothersome either. 1 hour 45 minutes and 33 seconds _ 20. 1 hour 45 minutes and 33 seconds _ 19. Yin Wu became even more dizzy with every second that ticked down. Yin Wu's target was where the Black King was buried. It was dangerous because it could potentially ruin what Uranus and the Day had been trying to protect for so long, but he wasn't in the position to be picky. He just needed to escape the heavenly demon and end Kronos legends. Of course, Yin Wu knew the Black King was trapped in emptiness. However, the emptiness was vast. It roamed around in the universes of both day and night. It would take too long to find the Black King's location in a place that didn't have any coordinates or directions, even if the crawling chaos helped him. Those were the very reasons that Yin Wu had stuck Mother Earth in emptiness. It is impossible to search for the Black King with the current time limit, and I can't attempt to enter Abyss while I'm possessing this body. I don't know how much the time difference will be either. Harmonia wouldn't be in this time period, but that didn't mean there wouldn't be other successors of the Black King guarding the door. Even if there wasn't a doorkeeper, opening the door was another matter. Grandfather probably won't tell me how to open it even if I ask him now. Uranus loved his children and grandchildren, but he kept personal and official matters separate. Even if it was a way for Yin Wu to survive, if Yin Wu asked Uranus to betray his purpose and mission in life, Yin Wu would just be beaten up. However, fortunately, there were beings who knew where the Black King was buried. No, even if they didn't know the location, they would have clues about it. The gods and demons of death were creatures who followed the Black King in the universe of Day. As Yi and Wu gained the castes of the Black King, one by one, they would show interest in him. Although they were affiliated with their own societies and factions, they didn't seem to care about that, as they occasionally presented Yi and Wu with trials or shared their powers with him. They even seemed to acknowledge him as their leader now, but even so, they showed hostility toward the other group that worshipped the Black King, the otherworld gods. If Yi and Wu could contact them, he'd find some answers. The problem is that it's near impossible to find them in this vast universe. With that concern in mind, Yi and Wu switched up his plan. If I can't find them, I can make it so they have to gather together. Yi and Wu's eyes darkened. I can just cause chaos so no one knows what I'll do next. When he was up against powerful beings, his strategy had always been to cause chaos if the situation wasn't in his favor and prevent anyone else from getting what they wanted. It was to slow down the judgment of his opponent and for him to hide his own cards. Now, Yi and Wu was intentionally causing trouble and bringing in other societies separate from the heavenly demon and day to cause chaos. As the crawling chaos said, he was covering up pandemonium with even greater pandemonium. Open hollow corner bracket. Then, can I assume that you intend to awake father? The crawling chaos realized Yi and Wu's plans and smiled. However, Yi and Wu didn't respond again. Open hollow corner bracket. Is there something else you're planning? The crawling chaos chuckled. Well, fine, even if you're just pretending to wake father, there's nothing I can do about it. No, the deceptions and strategies that'll occur during the process might be more amusing. Yi and Wu stayed quiet. It seemed, unlike the other beings of the night, the crawling chaos didn't seem that loyal to the Black King. Sometimes he expressed ideas that seemed impertinent towards someone he considered his father. But just as the gods and demons of day all had different personalities, the otherworld gods probably didn't all mindlessly follow the Black King. Yi and Wu decided not to think about them any further. Right now, it was more important to focus on walking this risky tightrope. If he took a single misstep, he'd die. He's coming. Rumble. The heavenly demon manifests. Rays of golden light pierced through the planet's dust clouds onto the ground. Open hollow corner bracket heavenly demon. Open hollow corner bracket heavenly demon. Open hollow corner bracket. What? The gods of Asgard, who were waiting for support as they surrounded Yi and Wu, gasped at the aura of the unexpected creature. They had their hands full with Yi and Wu already, so they wondered why the heavenly demon, the common enemy of all gods, was here. Not caring about the gods, surprise, the heavenly demon descended from the light. He growled as he swept his hair with an annoyed face. His clothes and face were dirty, showing how much he had run around until now. Does this bastard think I'm his dog that will chase after him? The heavenly demon arrived a step behind the chaos Yi and Wu had caused and had to go through many pains. He should have been able to find Yi and Wu instantly with his light, but strangely, Yi and Wu continued to evade him. When he actually managed to find Yi and Wu, it was too late. Then, when he tried to chase after Yi and Wu again, the support forces that arrived thought he was the one who had caused all the trouble, so, the heavenly demon had fought multiple unplanned battles with multiple gods and societies. He was only able to chase Yi and Wu after defeating all of them, so he wasn't able to gain any speed. The heavenly demon repeated this again and again, and had barely managed to catch Yi and Wu's tail. The reason why he looked like he hadn't washed in days was all because of Yi and Wu. But upon looking around, the heavenly demon realized his current situation wasn't looking up either. Heimdall manifests. Tyr manifests. Thor manifests. The godly society Asgard reveals its headquarters. The dusty sky shook, and a massive castle appeared. It was Valhalla, the palace where Thor and other high-leveled gods of Asgard resided. Open hollow corner bracket. I heard the youngest son of Olympus supreme god made trouble and was wondering what kind of nonsense that was. Heavenly demon, you were involved in it. Odin's furious voice boomed from Valhalla. The heavenly demon's face crumpled. They seemed to think the damage occurring across the universe was caused by him, not Uranus's youngest son who wasn't even an adult yet, since that seemed like a more plausible explanation. The heavenly demon was already frustrated and angry after fighting multiple battles he didn't need to, so this didn't help at all. The godly society Asgard declares war on the heavenly demon. Odin's power, observance of the three crows, activates. Thor's power, lightning that tears the sky, activates. Heimdall's power, seven blades of the rainbow, activates. The most courageous soldiers of Valhalla, the Einherjar, dashed for the heavenly demon. Damn it. The heavenly demon was about to explode his powers again when Yi and Wu suddenly used open speaking on him. Heavenly demon. Open hollow corner bracket. What, you bastard? Open hollow corner bracket. I have another present. Open hollow corner bracket what? The heavenly demon was about to say, what kind of bullshit is that? When pockets of emptiness suddenly opened around Valhalla. He was taken aback. The Godly Society Diva reveals its headquarters. The Godly Society Chan sect reveals its headquarters. The Godly Society Memphis reveals its headquarters. The societies Yi and Wu had passed through were all connected, and all the godly societies had appeared. Do. The destruction of the planet was sped up by the pressure of all the gods. Many gods express hostility toward the heavenly demon, who had mocked them. They seemed angrier at the heavenly demon, who was likely behind all this, than Yi and Wu, who had picked the fight. No matter how powerful the heavenly demon was, it wasn't easy to deal with all these gods at once. When the heavenly demon tried to search for Yi and Wu again, he had already disappeared after using the barrier of night. "Ah, you son of a bitch!" the heavenly demon shouted, but it was drowned out by the explosions. Rumble, rumble, crash. The Godly Society Asgard has declared total war on Olympus. The Godly Society Chan sect has declared war on Olympus. The Godly Society Memphis has declared war on Olympus. I must be getting old. I'm seeing things. Uranus. What is it? That's a good joke, but you're seeing things fine. Quote, I express my condolences. #, this bastard. After Metatron forced him to face reality, Uranus's face turned red as he jumped up and down. He already had a bad headache from dealing with the night, but he also had to deal with the gods from other societies now. If Yi and Wu was in front of him, he'd probably have beaten up Yi and Wu before throwing inside of the night. However, Uranus forced himself to calm down. This wasn't his fault, but the milk had already been spilled. He could catch and beat Yi and Wu up later, but what he needed now was to make quick decisions. Ball added, still, how commendable it is to see him running around in an attempt to do something instead of just hiding. Thanks to him, the heavenly demon is pretty busy too. Ball smirked as he took a bite of a cookie. Just moments ago, he had been weary because of the trouble Yi and Wu had caused, but he felt better after the youngest, 72nd ranked Andromalius brought him some cookies. But the problem is whether he pulled in the other societies to escape from the threat of the heavenly demon, or if he has something else up his sleeve. It didn't matter what his former identity was, Ball was now the king of demons. He couldn't help but like Yi and Wu's actions, even if he was concerned about them. Most demons were defiant creatures who didn't like being restricted by a set order. Still, Ball tried to make an indifferent assessment of Yi and Wu. He was curious if Yi and Wu had stubbornly caused this trouble to survive, or if it was part of a bigger scheme to turn the tides. If it was the former, Yi and Wu was an idiot who'd be defeated without being able to handle the aftermath, but if it was the latter, he'll be the pillar that can make Olympus into the heavenly world itself. Crunch. The cookie in Ball's mouth crumbled. And L'Infernal's future will be decided on that. Ball knew Uranus's rule of Olympus wouldn't be for much longer. Unlike himself or Metatron, who had relatively more of their power from the past, Uranus had given up nearly everything. Uranus's divinity had taken a toll as he tried to restore the day and expand Olympus to be the center of the day. Although he was currently one of the most powerful beings among the godly societies, Ball knew too well that it was a sandcastle that could easily come collapsing down. Uranus knew the state of his body better than anyone. In fact, he had already somewhat spoken with the two about the order that would follow his death. L'Infernal and I will become the pillar of absolute evil, and Metatron and Malik will become the pillar of absolute good, so day doesn't collapse then, things will roll smoothly without us having to interfere. However, that was only their promise with Uranus. It didn't extend to Ball's descendants. The problem is what comes after that. Even if we try to protect the boundaries of absolute good and absolute evil, Metatron and I will eventually want to seek our own authority and rule, Ball thought. They might have started with noble ideals. However, they couldn't help but become selfish when leading a group made up of many others. Olympus' position is very important. Uranus's 8 children are the descendants of those who were once with us, but they don't particularly have the passion or calling of their ancestors. Based on the path the future Olympus will take, they will be affected greatly. Ball shoved the rest of the cookies in his mouth and dusted his hands. Time would continue to flow, and nothing could be done about it. There were questions regarding what would happen to Olympus, who would have forgotten about their ancestors' dying teachings, but this could only be answered with one question: who would become the next king after Uranus? The oldest, Oceanus, works the hardest to take after his father. It would be nice if he sat on the throne, but that doesn't look like it'll happen. It seems like after all kinds of trouble that kid will eventually become king. Yi and Wu seemed to be more of a scoundrel than Kronos, so Bal appraised Yi and Wu higher. Since he had the seed of Numa and Quirinale, the power of the Black King, and even had a smart brain, there was nothing else Bal needed to think about. It was clear that the kid would someday hold the authority of Olympus. Then I can be confident that he'll somehow overcome the fate as the egg, and that'll be when day rises again. Bal knew Metatron's thoughts weren't too different from his own. Either oblivious or pretending not to know their thoughts, Uranus just crossed his arms and snorted. Humph, you think that sly bastard won't have planned that out? Ha! A chuckle escaped Bal's mouth. Uranus's eyebrows twitched. Why are you laughing? Even though you're mad, you're still bragging about your grandson. What, I suppose even the great Uranus can't do anything about his love for his grandson. Even though they're adopted, they're still your kids, huh? I wonder where the cold Yod-Thatig of the past went. Uranus's nose turned red. Stop with the nonsense. Anyway, let's go get that scoundrel before things become worse. Why aren't you moving? Uranus grumbled as he moved to where Yi and Wu was in the middle of causing trouble. He's such a dishonest geezer. Bal shook his head as he watched Uranus, then turned to look at the silent Metatron. Noticing that Metatron was deep in thought, Bal asked, "What are you thinking about so seriously?" The Book of Enoch. What about it? The Book of Enoch was a book of records that contained the secrets of the universe that L'Infernal called L'Megaton. Just something. Metatron just glanced at Bal and followed Uranus without any other word. Bal's face crumpled. One bastard is bad-tempered, and I can never tell what the other is thinking. Do I have to keep it with these two? But what can I do? It's my fault for siding with these deranged idiots. Bal grumbled to himself, and disappeared after leaving a command to his right arm. Agaras, hold the house down. The second-rank demon of L'Infernal, Agaras, didn't reply. Bal didn't care either, since he had already experienced Agar's strange personality from the past. Then, Agar's gaze turned toward an empty space. Swish! Space was uncovered and the barriers were lifted to reveal Yi and Wu, who had been hiding behind them. Agaras, I'm hoping we can bargain. Yi and Wu stared at Agaras. The reason why he had come here was simple. Agaras is the only way to contact the gods and demons of death without getting caught by the leaders of the day. Yi and Wu didn't have any way to approach the gods and demons of death during this time period. There were probably a few where the heavenly demon was fighting multiple societies, but that place was too dangerous. On the other hand, if it was the day, where Uranus and the others were absent, it was possible. Ha, you came to see me after evading Bal and the others. What a foolish child. However, Agar's attitude was cold. He appeared very arrogant as he crossed his arms and lifted his nose. Yi and Wu even read some disdain from his eyes. It was a sharp contrast to the mad obsession he had with Yi and Wu in reality. But Yi and Wu preferred this side to Agaras, since an arrogant and self-centered Agaras was easier to talk to. Wicked devil, Yi and Wu said randomly. Agaras frowned. What? It's the power you gave me. Quote, it's also your trademark power. Isn't it? Suddenly, all emotion disappeared from Agar's face. He looked as beautiful as a wax doll. And it seems like you recognized it too. So, I don't know what you're going to do, but I'll help you. Agaras smiled before Yi and Wu could finish his sentence. Open hollow corner bracket. He appears to be someone who doesn't pay much attention to things outside of his interests. Does he always listen to requests like these? Of course not. Yi and Wu narrowed his eyes at the crawling chaos. Question. He didn't know what Agaras was thinking. Yi and Wu's plan had been to attract Agar's interest with Wicked Devil and present the details of their trade. Since Agaras had always been obsessed with his and Jung Wu's souls, Yi and Wu intended to give up a part of the legends that made up his soul. It was a dangerous bargain that could negatively influence and weaken his divine level, but beggars couldn't be choosers. However, Agaras was saying he'd help without even listening to the conditions of the bargain. This was impossible, considering Agar's cynical personality. Yi and Wu couldn't help but become wary of him. Aren't you gonna tell me what you want? You probably don't have that much time on your hands. Agaras smirked at Yi and Wu, as if trying to infuriate him. Open hollow corner bracket. I don't know what happened, but you have the upper hand. Why don't you just go ahead with it? I don't know what he's planning, but you won't see each other again after you escape these legends. Hoo-hoo. The crawling chaos laughed as he looked at the two, but his words held some sense. Yi and Wu didn't know what clues Agaras had, but if he could pay after the deal was done, he could just dine and dash. He stated, "Let me meet Halphus." Why are you looking for him? Halfus, the 38th in ranking, was a demon who symbolized death and war. Agar's eyebrows twitched in dissatisfaction. It was like he had seen delicious candy and was looking forward to it, but he was told it was someone else's. Yianwu momentarily wondered if he could trust Agaras, but he decided to go all the way since he had already chosen to trust him. Am I not allowed to? It doesn't matter if he's a part of the East Demon Army that I command, but he's not. And I'm heeding your request, so don't I deserve to know why? I need to meet gods or demons with the domain of death. I see, that's what it was. I never imagined there was a crazier bastard than me. Kek, so that's why the future me left such a mark. Agaras snickered, having read Yianwu's intentions. He was trying to hold back his mad laughter. Fine, then any demon of death should be fine, correct? That's true, but, then you should avoid Halfus. He's a commanding officer who unconditionally follows Baal. I'll introduce you to someone else instead. Agaras waved, and a portal appeared through the cracks in space. A portal to the demonic society Niflheim has been opened. If it was Niflheim, it meant Agaras was introducing Yianwu to hell. Yianwu thought this was for the better. He didn't know Agaras had a relationship with Niflheim during this time period, but it was easier to deal with Hell, who he already knew. Oh right, I almost forgot. There's something you need to be careful of before you enter. Agaras turned back to Yianwu before entering the portal. The smirk on his face felt oddly ominous. I don't know if you're aware, but the leader of Niflheim is quite perverted. You should be careful. Quote. Yianwu wondered what that was supposed to mean when flashbacks came to him. Woof, woof woof, ah, hash hash hash, I won't have any regrets if I die now that I've met you. Yianwu thought of Fenrir, who joyfully wagged his tail like a dog, and Hel, who was strangely always panting whenever they met. The leader of Niflheim was their father, Loki, if his memory served him correctly. What if their personalities were taken after their father? Yianwu suddenly felt chills running down his spine. The headquarters of the demonic society Niflheim have entered. You are currently surrounded by the mist of illusion surrounding Niflheim. Your entrance is not allowed. Step back. This space confuses beings. The deeper you head inside of the mist, the greater your chances of becoming lost. It is advised you enter again after receiving permission. Yianwu had followed Agaras into a foggy place. The mist confused all his senses, from sight to touch. It seemed to affect his mind as well. Most gods and demons likely wouldn't be able to keep their bearings if they wound up in this fog. You maintain reason with the trait, cold-blooded. You have been released from the stunned state. You have gained resistance to the confusion. Godly perceptions are activating. All dispersed senses are being focused into one. Your confused senses are being readjusted. Eye of the heavens shows a path. Ear of the heavens reflects a path. With consecutive messages, Yianwu regained his steadiness. The world around him became still again, and the fog disappeared. Even though I'm more familiar with this place than you are, that feeling is quite unpleasant, but I didn't know you'd overcome it so soon. Agaras studied Yianwu with interest. Niflheim was a society so familiar with fog that their name meant, World of Mist. They also had a long history. It was rumored that they had started to exist around when the universe was created. Because of this, Niflheim had a lot more pride than any other society. They continued to maintain their forces while countless other societies came and went, and they were well known among many other transcendents. However, that pride had led them to a thorough exclusiveness. They believed they were the most powerful, most united, and had a more advanced culture than any other society, so they didn't need communication with the outside. It was why Niflheim surrounded themselves with a mist that was thicker than walls and refused anyone's visits. They only dissipated the mist when visitors they were close with came to visit. However, even that required a hefty process and a long time, so there were very few visitors. In the tower, they seemed to frequently communicate with the outside world. Did they change after being trapped in the heavenly world? Yianwu only remembered Niflheim's goodwill toward him, so he thought their exclusiveness seemed strange. However, now that he was facing the mist himself, he slightly understood their history. The mist was filled with thoughts of, deny him, push him away, and, confuse him. The deeper he went, the clearer thoughts like, curse him, and, kill him, became. However, even Niflheim's barriers weren't able to sweep away the eye and ear of the heavens. Agaras already knew how to release the mist and get through it, so he couldn't help but be interested in Yianwu, who easily got through it. There was another being who was amused by Yianwu. Oh ho ho, I wondered what idiots were being foolish again, but two good-looking guys came. I'm so excited that I'm going crazy. SSS's. As a voice came from above, the mist slowly scattered to reveal someone walking out. With the sound of their high heels clicking on the ground, an elegant and beautiful woman could be seen. Mother. Yian-Wu looked at the woman blankly. She didn't resemble his mother at all, but her aura was so similar. Then, Yian-Wu narrowed his eyes. No, Adora, no, Sesha might look like that when she's grown up. What is this? The faces of multiple people flashed over the smiling woman's face. Yian-Wu wanted to feel familiar and at ease with her because of those faces, but he actually felt wary and threatened by the unnatural occurrence. You maintain your reason with the trait, cold-blooded. Eye of the heavens opens your eyes. Ear of the heavens opens your ears. The hidden true face of the creature is revealed. Yian-Wu's mind was cleared, and he could only see the woman's face now. The woman smirked. Although you got through the mist with your good eyesight, I didn't think you'd see through these illusions. Even Odin's impudent crows barely caught on. I like you. The woman slowly approached and stroked Yian-Wu's throat. It was an action that would have had most men's hearts thumping, but Yian-Wu unpleasantly flung her hand away. However, the woman seemed to like Yian-Wu's attitude even more. She licked her lips. And you're playing hard to get. Smart, yet cold. I really like you, really. Yian-Wu didn't even want to deal with the woman, so he glared at Agaras. He wanted Agaras to do something, while starting to realize who the woman was. The woman was now looking at Yian-Wu seductively. It's disgusting, so put that away, Loki. Agaras also glared at the woman, the leader of Niflheim, Loki. The father of Fenrir, Jormungandr, and Hel who represented Niflheim was the woman. Yian-Wu knew there was something about Loki changing his gender and teasing people among his well-known legends. But it's annoying to see it up close. He didn't have any reason to be acquainted with Loki if he had such a bizarre hobby. Open hollow corner bracket hoo-hoo. I don't know what this gender thing is, but you seemed like one of those guys when I saw you. Yian-Wu ignored the crawling chaos. But after Agar's warning, Loki no longer loitered around Yian-Wu and stepped back. Yian-Wu was about to feel grateful toward Agaras. I took him first. Don't even think about touching what's mine. What? Oh my, what should we do? I enjoy stealing beings from their masters. Do you want to die? Oh, isn't this fun? A passionate fight for the love of one man. I've always wanted to do something like this. Looking at the murderous Agaras and cheering Loki, Yian-Wu slowly took a step back. Open hollow corner bracket hee. Everything's crazy. The crawling chaos continued to snicker in amusement, while Yian-Wu seriously considered whether or not he had walked into a lair of devils. It's our rule to never accept unallowed visits, but since two good-looking guys like you came, I pushed for it. Click-clack. As Loki walked forward, the mist surrounding Niflheim shifted away to slowly reveal a beautiful sight. Under the blue sky, there was a floating island surrounded by a vast ocean. Each section had scenes from the 4 seasons, beautiful and heartwarming. A place demons lived was usually called a lair, but this place was different from what Yian-Wu imagined. It actually had a beauty that could melt anyone's heart, but the scenery all seemed unnatural to Yian-Wu. The occasional beasts chewed grass or soared through the skies with demonic energy trailing behind them. L'Infernal's demons took human forms, but it seemed Niflheim's demons took beastly forms. Loki gave various explanations about Niflheim, but Yian-Wu didn't even pretend to be listening. He just focused on observing Niflheim, and the demons of Niflheim were searchingly gazing at Yian-Wu, the first visitor in ages. You're too cold. If you keep ignoring me like that, I want to. Loki glared at Yian-Wu, but he was cut off mid-sentence. Far away on the horizon, a massive wolf came running. It was Fenrir, shaking the ground with every step he took. He walked past Loki and stopped in front of Yian-Wu. Then, he began to sniff him. You're paying attention to someone else when your dad, I mean, your mom, is right in front of you. Goodness. Loki grumbled as Fenrir didn't pay him any attention, but he looked between Yian-Wu and Fenrir with interest. It was the first time his wariest child was showing curiosity towards someone else, so it was a sight to see. Considering how Fenrir has the most special senses out of the demons of Niflheim, no, in the entire universe is there something special about this person. Thinking Agaras had brought no ordinary visitor, Loki narrowed his eyes. He was amused by the fact that the arrogant Agaras was looking after someone like this, so his interest only grew. What fascinated him more was that most gods and demons were scared of Fenrir by his outer appearance, but Yian-Wu was at ease with him. Then, Fenrir suddenly opened his jaws and bit the back of Yian-Wu's neck. Agaras, who had been looking on with dissatisfaction, released his demonic energy with a twitch of his eyebrows. He thought Fenrir was attacking Yian-Wu, but Yian-Wu held a hand up to stop him. Fenrir had put Yian-Wu on his back. Yian-Wu knew what Fenrir was trying to do even though he didn't tell him. You have someplace to take me. Grr, woof. Fenrir laughed at Yian-Wu's question and nodded. Okay, I don't know where you're taking me, but let's go. Yian-Wu stroked Fenrir's neck. Fenrir joyfully wagged his tail and suddenly began to run in the opposite direction of where he had come from. Loki, having lost Yian-Wu from right under his nose, widened his eyes, and Agaras clenched his fists tightly. His face was already red. That son of a bitch. Uncaring, Fenrir continued to run with Yian-Wu on his back. From spring to winter, desert to glaciers, scenes of various sections flashed by Yian-Wu's eyes. He soon arrived at the end of a high precipice. Woof, woof woof, boo, Fenrir barked and even howled. He seemed to be searching for something. Yian-Wu could see broad plains spread beneath the cliff. However, that wasn't what captured his attention. Open hollow corner bracket ah. The successor of the great king has arrived as the prophecies stated. In the middle of the plains, Hel was praying on an altar in between two blazing torches. Osiris manifests. Nergal manifests. The king of seven hells manifests. Saitagarbha manifests. Esma Deva manifests. Countless gods and demons of death manifested in front of the altar. They kneeled on one knee and bowed. It was a pledge of loyalty and greeting for the king who would lead them. Yian-Wu's eyes widened at the unexpected sight. What about part B7 of Tears of Grief? It's here. I don't think the size fits though. Try shaving this part off. Hey, does anyone know where the ruptured brake is? That's here. How could you leave it here? We have to study the engine and its combination factors right now. In a pitch-black world, the work of the master craftsmen centered around Heneva and Anastasia was coming to an end. They had only been given 12 hours at most, so one might even wonder how they could have made something properly. But Yian-Wu had prepared a lot of parts alongside Heneva, and the flow of time here was thoroughly isolated from the outside world. Thus, the time felt by the master craftsmen had already been equivalent to a few days. They were mentally and physically tired, but they kept hammering without rest. As if to show how they had gotten the title of master craftsman, every product they crafted displayed a high level of completion. Eternal masterpiece, indicator of time, has been crafted. Eternal masterpiece, blue-imbued jade marble, has been crafted. The collaboration among the master craftsmen increases efficiency by more than 300%. Eternal masterpieces are being crafted one after another. It is a legendary moment that will remain in history. Due to the correction effect, the master craftsman's stamina recovers 40% faster. The rate of mental consumption decreases by 60%. All the items being created are set artifacts. If combined as one, it can cause a strong resonance. They are objects that all gods and demons especially covet as divine items. When given as an offering, the target's divine powers will be amplified, and a great blessing will be blessed upon the creators. Anastasia was in charge of the overall process, and Heneva was in charge of the speed and quality of the work as he managed the details. Then thang, as Heneva swung his hammer down while biting on the short pipe. The last eternal masterpiece, Jade-breaking drive derivative device, has been completed. Finally, the long-awaited last message appeared. Huff, Heneva let out a deep breath. Thanks to that, he released the cigarette smoke that he had kept in his lungs. His gaze was fixed solely on the disc whinging on the anvil. Heneva, that is. Oh, did you finally finish it? You probably didn't have enough time, but you completed the task. As expected of you. The master craftsmen gathered around Heneva's completed masterpiece and burst into admiration. Clearly, Heneva just crafted an item that stood unrivaled even among the completed masterpieces so far. As such, the object that was born now occupied the most unique position among the completed ones, and it was also the most important part of Scythe. However, all of those compliments sounded like mockery to Heneva. Jade-breaking drive derivative device. Type: support. Rank: immeasurable. Description: a device made to assist and drive a specified item. It is an item that many gods and demons will covet as a substitute if it is disclosed to the outside world because of its technology that is great enough to handle and control huge amounts of holy power. Unfortunately, however, the durability does not seem to be very good. Why do you all have so much to say just for a disposable item? Wrap up the rest of your work instead. Just like its name implied, jade-breaking referred to Destruction of jades. The jade breaking drive derivative device was a control device that could draw out the power from the darkness jade, which would become the scythe's core. Considering how much time and mental strength it took to design and produce this, Heneva couldn't stop himself from cursing. There was enough time when the Philosopher's Stone was made, but this was not the case now. Still, this item was definitely much more valuable than the Philosopher's Stone. It was a device designed to properly materialize the power of the Black King, who most people didn't even know existed. Hence, a lot of hard work and effort was bound to go into it. Perhaps even if Heneva and the other master craftsmen put their heads together again in the future, it was unclear whether they would be able to produce better results than this. However, the problem was that the jade-breaking drive derivative device wasn't durable. This weakness was inevitable. This was because if Heneva had paid attention to durability, the device wouldn't be able to properly extract the power of the darkness jade, and there was a high possibility that it would only cause Scythe's level of completion to fall. So even if they had to give up its durability, the master craftsmen all agreed to aim for the best efficiency, and this was the result of it. Although it was only a one-time use item, Heneva was confident. The moment this was revealed to the world, it would turn the tower upside down. The problem was that the person who would be the owner of this item was insensitive. Damned bastard. He always works me like a horse, but doesn't even show his face. HMPH. Heneva clicked his tongue while holding a short pipe in his hand. Even though he was obviously dissatisfied, his gaze was firmly fixed elsewhere. It's about time for him to come. Like the tobacco leaves burning in the short pipe, Heneva's annoyance blazed on. 0 hours 59 minutes and 47 seconds _88. 0 hours 59 minutes and 47 seconds _87. Kaboom! With a violent explosion, Count Ferenc and the vampiric lord were blasted away. They barely landed on the ground. Both of them were plastered with wounds. It's not easy, huh? With a cough, blood flowed from the corners of Count Ferenc's lips. I'm still doing okay. I'm not going down yet. Rather, what about you? It seems like the vampire spirit has been trembling ever since just now. Count Ferenc admonished the vampire lord with a worried gaze. He looked at the black haze which shook dangerously, thinking it could fade away at any moment. The vampiric lord bit her lower lip and shook her head stubbornly. I'm still fine. Then, that's a relief. Count Ferenc was well aware that it was a show of valiant bravery from his wife. While facing countless divine beings who were trying to invade the world of light, Alphron showed no signs of being shaken. Instead, he tried to remove the root of the problem by manifesting his true body. Of course, the root of the problem was Yi and Wu. They managed to fight Alphron after receiving the baptism of darkness, but Alphron had always been too strong. Many of the followers were already seriously injured, retiring from the battlefield. There were also quite a few deaths. Of course, the injured were sucked into the shadows before reappearing as members of Dis Pluto. Still, it was not easy to deal with Alphron. More than half of the vampire spirit that the vampiric lord was proud of was in a torn state. Darkness was an enemy light couldn't defeat, but light was also undefeatable by darkness. Yi and Wu's believers were fatally injured because of Alphron's power, which used light as its source. In fact, they were not evenly matched. But nevertheless, the vampiric lord and others tried to resist Alphron. They were filled with the desire to somehow get one hit in. Alphron had forcibly detained them all. Even if they escaped him, they had to run away endlessly. They wanted to vent their anger now. If they didn't even take the slightest revenge, they didn't know when such an opportunity would arise again. Therefore, Count Ferenc did not dissuade his wife's obstinance. In fact, he shared similar thoughts. He slowly stood up from where he sat and laughed. I also feel like I can stay up for a few more days. Our daughter is also working hard, so let's go at it again. Far away, Alphron's true body slowly walked towards them. Lana was blocking his way, and in the sky, a giant monster was violently throwing a barrage of punches in his direction. Spirits of the dead, why do you not follow the laws of nature and instead go against death to fight me? Why do you not realize that all these attempts you refer to as the resistance of freedom are nothing more than chains that tie you down and reduce you to the likes of dolls? Rumble. Then, suddenly, a ray of light that burst forth along with Alphron's bellowing mutilated the monster. Cracks spread like spider webs across its body, then a random middle-aged man appeared amongst those cracks as the sounds of glass breaking rang out. Open corner bracket. It hurts. It hurts so much. This hell difficulty is too hard for weak ol' me to handle. Seriously, what was thinking when he threw a delicate person like me into such an unsophisticated place? Although, delicate, was a term that did not suit the black skinhead with rabbit ears, Laplace scratched his bald head while frowning. He seemed to be aching all over. Count Ferenc hurried toward Laplace, asking with a laugh, "Are you okay?" Open corner bracket. Do I look like I'm okay? I don't think so. Open corner bracket. Then, don't ask weird questions. I don't even have the leisure to talk properly because I'm in pain. But you look like you're having fun. Open corner bracket. How so? Aren't you smiling? Only then did Laplace touch his lips, and belatedly found out that the corners of his mouth had unknowingly tugged up into a smile. That's right. Rather than the demonic sea which was filled with the foul stench of a sewer and boredom, this place is way better. I'd have no regrets even if I die right here and now. You're already dead though. Open corner bracket. So isn't that even better? Ho ho ho. While Laplace laughed, the source that shook the world slowly approached them. Boom, boom. Alphorone walked slowly while pushing Lana away. The laws of the world revolved around him, stirring the darkness that was about to dye the world of light black. Open hollow corner bracket. I'll ask you again. Why do you chain your hands and feet on your own accord? And why do you express yourself through resistance? In the end, only your position has changed. Isn't it nothing more than just a useless repetition of events? Alphorone's voice was rather low, as if he was mumbling to himself. But his words still rang all across the world of light and were firmly imprinted in their minds. Open hollow corner bracket. Death is just death. However, darkness goes against that, and sweet talks the lot of you by promising you a new life and giving you back your freedom. But truly, it makes you a slave. Rather, it is only eternal bondage. Also, did you say you wanted to get away from me and ascend? You are also mistaken about that. Count Ferenc somehow thought Alphorone sounded rather angry. It felt like the complaint of an existence that no one acknowledged. Open hollow corner bracket. The upper floors are just the home of gods and demons who regard creatures like you as just mere beasts to raise. Without stopping them and leaving them to fully bloom, mortals will always be led to ruin. There is no future for the creatures who have to live on this land without blocking the path between heaven and earth. Soon, Alphorone was already near them. With that in mind, Count Ferenc tried to tell him that he was wrong. He wanted to criticize Alphorone's narrow-mindedness of thinking that only his mission was just and that their desires were wrong. Open hollow corner bracket. No. The premise of your argument is wrong. There was no opportunity for Count Ferenc to step in, because someone else responded before he could. The mockery in the person's voice went undisguised. Swish. In front of Count Ferenc and while blocking the way of Alphorone, Cha Jungwoo's vestige body stared at Alphorone with a crumpled face. Open hollow corner bracket. What qualifications do you have to judge those sort of things, Vivasvat? 045, 66_92, 045, 66_91, 039, 78_87, 039, 78_86. Yin Wu stared at the gods and demons of death who appeared in succession and pledged their loyalty to him. At first, he was curious why they appeared at once. However, after a little while, he thought about it calmly and came to the conclusion that it wasn't impossible. You sensed my existence when I completed Sky Wings. Open hollow corner bracket. At first, we were unsure. However, when your majesty faced the heavenly demon, we became confident upon seeing the various miracles that happened then. Hell bowed elegantly as she knelt on one knee. It was an unimaginable sight in the original timeline. Yin Wu thought that she was acting all innocent. Yin Wu nodded quietly. Certainly, he ran away from the heavenly demon, but there were more than one or two societies involved with the entire incident. There must have been a few beings who could sense the traces of darkness from him. Still, in this era where many societies did not yet have much exchange, there was only one reason why they could gather together at one spot so quickly. As expected, the gods and demons of death are bound by their own association regardless of their affiliation. Of course, the center of that is the Black King. They did not pledge loyalty simply because Yin Wu was a successor of the Black King. Since they watched the process of his fight with the heavenly demon, they must have judged that Yin Wu was trustworthy enough. Yin Wu's struggle to live had unexpectedly led to a new opportunity. Yin Wu quickly glanced at the gods and demons of death. Most of them were unfamiliar faces, but he did spot a couple of familiar ones. Among them was also Azrael, who vanished completely in the original timeline. Although each of them gave off different impressions, the feeling they exuded was the same. Click, click, Yin Wu was at their center. All the faith they radiated was connected to him, and their domains were connected to him like cogwheels. Because of his existence, their existence was also validated. They said it was prophesied that I would come, right? Yin Wu knew that meant that it was written in the revelations. Did the Black King guess that I would visit? If that was not the case. The Black King stares at his descendant from a distant dream. All the phenomena and facts that occurred in the world were said to be the dreams of the Black King, so Yin Wu wondered if the Black King knew this was a part of his dream. As the concept of death was completed, Yin Wu could clearly sense the gazes of the sleeping beings from the world's back end concentrating on him. He was now sure that the Black King had been observing his every move from the moment he first entered this legend. The Black King was waiting for his successor to hurry up and find him. Where did the Black King fall asleep? Yin Wu deliberately did not use honorifics such as he or father. He felt like he would be forcibly bound with lesser leeway if he used such honorifics in his words. The Black King is observing his successor with interest. Hel slowly got up from her position and waved her hand into the air. I will open the path. A new portal opened in front of Yin Wu as well as the gods and demons of death. Beyond that, a vast universe was revealed. It was in the middle of the universe that could be easily seen anywhere, but the gods and demons of death were excited and thrilled. After all, they were approaching the place where the Black King fell into a slumber. However, contrary to them, Yin Wu's expression hardened. He found the place very familiar. It was the solar system, and he spotted a blue star that was the third planet, Earth. Open hollow corner bracket. Ah, that's close hollow corner bracket. Open hollow corner bracket. How blue. I feel this every time I see it, but it's very beautiful. Open hollow corner bracket. I feel like I'm looking at the pearls back at our headquarters. The gods and demons all nodded at the beauty of Earth. None of them seemed too surprised. They were all somewhat familiar with the planet. They seemed to think it was understandable that the Black King had fallen asleep here since it was such a beautiful place. Open hollow corner bracket. That's where father is. The crawling chaos laughed maniacally. Yin Wu's head rang because of it. He had finally found the place where father was asleep, a place the knight had spent eons searching for, so he was understandably ecstatic. Although he was the least sincere out of all the otherworld gods, his zeal and passion toward the father were stronger than anyone else's. Most importantly, the crawling chaos could faintly feel that the sleeping father's consciousness was focused on Earth. Even though the crawling chaos didn't have a body anymore, all of his senses were telling him this. Now, the crawling chaos wanted to hurry Yin Wu up and ask what he was doing. He wanted to rush Yin Wu to go and wake father, but he wasn't able to speak since Yin Wu was greatly shaken. What? Unlike the other beings, who wanted to hurry toward Earth, Yin Wu was quite taken aback. Why does it have to be Earth out of all the places in this vast universe? Earth and the solar system were located so far out on the boundaries that even Kronos hadn't known they existed. It was a place that didn't have any magic or holy power, and no transcendence had touched it. Thus, Yin Wu had thought Earth was far from any unordinary phenomena. But the Black King is asleep here. A thought suddenly flashed in Yin Wu's mind. Why do I hear of Olympus legends here? Is this Olympus territory? I even heard of Asgard in one of my past lives. There was even something about the Chan sect. When Kronos lost his throne and reached Earth, where he had thrown the springs, he had asked the same question while living his multiple lives. Earth was a planet where legends of Olympus, Asgard, the Chan sect, and countless other societies were told. He couldn't believe that such a place existed, since Kronos himself had never seen it while ruling over Olympus for eons. He couldn't help but wonder why. He eventually learned that he wasn't able to regain his divinity on Earth because the heavenly demon had trapped the gods in the tower, but he was never able to find the answer to this question. The legends of different societies couldn't be told at the same time. The fact that mortals could understand the legends of transcendence so accurately made him uneasy. Perhaps the reason why such strange phenomena was occurring had something to do with the Black King being asleep on Earth. A dream. According to the revelations, all happenings and phenomena in the world appeared as dreams to the Black King, a long dream that had no end in sight. And the moment he woke up would be the end the Sea of Time spoke about. However, dreams could be repeated several times, and they could go down multiple paths. This meant the legends of gods were also only a part of the Black King's dream. It occurred to Yin Wu that many legends could already be stored and refined without the gods noticing. And if Earth really is near the Black King, such phenomena would have occurred more frequently. Yin Wu's gaze darkened. Father's springs arriving on Earth, And mother being able to find father here, all these things that were thought to be coincidences might not be. The springs, arriving on Earth, might have been due to a homing instinct that drove them to the god Kronos served. The Black King watches what kind of decision his successor will make. As if teasing Yin Wu, a message regarding the Black King popped up. Yin Wu was certain the Black King's gaze wasn't one of interest in his successor. It was probably closer to one of curiosity, like how children observed ants. To the Black King, Yin Wu was just a mere insect that would disappear the moment he woke up. Open hollow corner bracket, Your Majesty. Please give me the honor of serving you by your side. Just then, Azrael folded his wings and quietly landed next to Yin Wu. He bowed toward Yin Wu elegantly, but his eyes were blazing with aspiration. In reality, Azrael had been passionate because Yin Wu was the Black King's successor, and he was still showing that same fire. The only difference here was that he had been domineering in the past, but right now, he was politer than ever. Because Azrael was a passionate follower of the Black King, he followed the hierarchy related to the Black King like it meant his life. Then, Hel, who was representing all gods and demons of death, twitched her eyebrows. Azrael was disregarding her authority, she couldn't help but feel annoyed. Still, she couldn't show her bad side with their king watching on. She contained her anger and spoke twistedly. What are you saying, Azrael? The king arrived on Niflheim, so it was decided that I would guide him, wasn't it? But Azrael didn't even turn to look at the protesting Hel, and continued to appeal himself to Yin Wu. Open hollow corner bracket, I am an angel of death, and I collect and store souls. I am a musician who will be playing the trumpet with the others when you awake the king. Open hollow corner bracket, you're only dirtying the honor of the other gods and demons by overstepping your boundaries. Open hollow corner bracket, the duty of a musician is to let the entire world know the path of the king, and let all the people and citizens to bow toward him. Please allow me to follow you so I can perform this duty. Open hollow corner bracket, you can't understand my simple words. I suppose nothing can be done about a fool who can't even defeat Samael. As a comrade who has the same domain, this is quite sad. Angry that Azrael continued to ignore her, Hel pretended to mutter loudly to herself. Azrael was no longer able to ignore Hel and whipped his head toward her. Bringing up the name that was his humiliation meant she was challenging him to a fight. Of course, he didn't want to show a bad side of him in front of the king. His sly tongue was among the best in Malak. Perhaps it's because you have the blood of the dumb giants that you speak such ignorant words. Open hollow corner bracket, what? Hel's voice turned sharp. Open hollow corner bracket, do you still not know? Open hollow corner bracket of what? Open hollow corner bracket, I'm already one with the king. Open hollow corner bracket, what? Azrael ignored Hel's scowl and spoke loudly for everyone to hear. Open hollow corner bracket, I don't know how I've been blessed for my soul to communicate with the kings, but can't you smell my soul from his scent? Open hollow corner bracket. Open hollow corner bracket, how foolish. So step away. You are nothing to step into the territory he and I are. He must be speaking about the third spirit I stole from him. Yin Wu clicked his tongue, watching Azrael and Hel fight over who would serve him. He didn't care at all who stepped up, so it was a bit ridiculous watching them debate. Still, he didn't stop them. A competition of loyalty among subordinates could be used well depending on the situation. But Hel doesn't know that, so based on what I know of her personality, she'll be. Open hollow corner bracket, a close hollow corner bracket. Single quote question mark single quote. Yin Wu, who thought Hel was going to butt heads with Azrael, flinched and stepped back at the sudden rough panting. Hel's face was already flushed. She panted, and steam seemingly floated above her head. Agaras and father are already interested in him, so I was already frustrated, but one body. You're already in that kind of relationship. I will die at this rate. Damned stone of Luxuria. Yin Wu cursed quietly watching Hel explode. He did think Hel had been too quiet. It seemed she was putting on a facade. It was fitting for Loki's youngest daughter. Thinking that he'd be swept up in Niflheim at this rate, Yin Wu patted Fenrir's neck, who he was still sitting atop. I want to head over there. Can you help me? Woof. Fenrir began to run. The way he jumped through the air, from the cliff toward the portal, almost seemed majestic. Open hollow corner bracket W, wait for me. Hel flapped her wings after Yin Wu and Fenrir. Azrael also frantically chased after them. 666 gods and demons of death all crossed over the portal. As soon as Yin Wu stepped out of the portal, there was only one thing he could think of. How empty. It was the same Earth, but the Earth in Chronos legends and the Earth from the reality that Yi and Wu lived on were actually different enough to be two separate planets. Rainstorms poured so heavily from the sky that it was hard to see anything, and a boiling ocean had rough, surging waves. The atmosphere was filled with sulfuric gas, so it was hard to think that there might be any organisms that existed. Primitive Earth was an Earth so ancient that it was hard to tell what year this was. If compared to the Earth in reality, this Earth was probably a newborn. Yi and Wu wondered where the Black King would be asleep in a place like this. But the moment he stepped deep inside, Yi and Wu felt countless thoughts. Haha, I see, you've come, my child, the one to awake me. Alarm, egg, something like that. Able to find a path in many repeated dreams. Legend see so can. Which one of me are you? Yi and Wu could feel countless gazes falling onto him from all over the place. ABC Deaf Geit. There were thoughts that probably belonged to the Black King, mixed thoughts, and randomly assorted words. There was also a strange thought looking at Yi and Wu. From Yi and Wu's perspective it was loud, like countless beings surrounded him to scream into his ears. The problem was that each noise contained a divinity that not even divine beings could measure, so his soul was shaking. Your soul is shaking due to an unknown reason. Your ego is confused. You maintain reason with the trait, cold-blooded. Your soul is. You maintain reason with the trait, cold-blooded. 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 Yi and Wu experienced extreme confusion that would have destroyed his ego if he didn't have his trait. He didn't even have the mind to worry about Fenrir or the gods and demons of death who crossed through the portal with him. You maintain reason with the trait, cold-blooded. The stunned status was been released. You have gained resistance toward the confusion. Godly perceptions is activating. Your scattered senses are slowly being focused. The confused senses are being adjusted. A significant time is required to focus and adjust. Please wait. The Black King looks gladly upon his successor who came to see him in this whirling land. Father didn't feel this. Yi and Wu endured the head-splitting pain and wondered why Kronos hadn't been able to feel the Black King during the tens of thousands of years he had lived here. He was also curious about the heavenly demon, who confidently said he stuck the Black King in emptiness. What was the heavenly demon thinking? Even if it's in the future, how could he think to put the Black King asleep in his mother planet? The heavenly demon had been born on Earth, but after becoming an emperor, he had surpassed time and space. He had finished the creation of the universe by defeating the Black King. There must have been some reason why he put the Black King on Earth. However, Yi and Wu didn't understand what it was. Can living organisms appear in this place of storming thoughts? No, so how did the future I know come to be? Eye of the heavens looks. Ear of the heavens hears. Then, Yi and Wu was no longer confused. He could feel something waiting behind the storm of thoughts, and that his soul was bound to it with invisible chains. The chains were being pulled as if telling him to come closer. If he didn't listen, it would force him. Clatter. The chains clanked and tugged on Yi and Wu harder. Yi and Wu didn't resist and was pulled into the ocean with a splash. Yi and Wu sank just when he was starting to think he reached the Earth's core. Yi and Wu realized that he was no longer on Earth, but in pitch-black emptiness. There was a being that he couldn't even begin to measure. Yi and Wu couldn't see the being because of the black emptiness, but its size was something beyond what he could recognize. He was just a little dot compared to it. Even daring to measure the being seemed disrespectful. The Black King looks at his successor. Meet like this. New dream. Egg. The egg. Best out of all my successors. Waited until blood passed down. Good. Choose you. Through the Black King's blessing, the title, Successor of the Black King, has been changed to Shadow of the Black King. Not time for me to wake yet. But I can stretch. I used to talk in my sleep anyway. When his title changed from Successor to Shadow, Yi and Wu felt threatened by the ringing voices. It spoke as if it had completely decided its use for him. At the same time, it occurred to him that the voices were not just of one being. Parts of the Black King were probably split, moving like they had egos while the Black King was asleep. Demonism. Yi and Wu finally realized that the thing speaking to him was the original demonism, the Black King's exuvie. But he couldn't ignore it either, because it was representing the slumbering Black King right now. This was why the Black King had said he talked in his sleep. Open hollow corner bracket father. Just then, the crawling chaos shouted excitedly. Only Yi and Wu could hear his voice, but he didn't seem to care. He seemed confident that somehow his voice would reach the Black King. I've come all the way here in search of you. I did what none of the other children who followed you were able to do. Only me, so please allow me to stay by your side. I wish to be by your side when you open your eyes. Wake up. The crawling chaos was forced to stop his passionate wooing of the Black King. The moment a new voice started speaking, all the darkness surrounding Yian-Wu broke apart. As if he had never sunken down toward Earth's core, Yian-Wu was now standing in the middle of the ocean. The events that had just happened were becoming faint, almost dreamlike. There was no trace of the vast powerful presence that had approached him just now. URRNG. However, Yian-Wu's hand was still connected to the core by the invisible chains. He didn't feel any pull like he just had, but it was still unpleasant because it made him feel like a marionette with strings attached. But Yian-Wu didn't have the mind to be concerned about such things. The ocean was now thrashing to soaring heights. The hefty amount of thoughts and holy power coming from the core was shaking the earth. The promised land is rising. Land suddenly appeared through the whirling ocean and began to float up. It was something that shouldn't be able to happen considering Earth didn't have any land during this time period. Open hollow corner bracket, could that be? Open hollow corner bracket, is that what was prophesied to rise the day he wakes up? Open hollow corner bracket, I never imagined I'd see the throne of might that voids all laws and abilities that was set to appear on the promised day. Unlike Yian-Wu, the gods and demons weren't able to push back against the Black King's thoughts and were watching from above. However, even they could see that the land was massive. It was almost the size of a continent. As they watched, their eyes flashed with madness. The throne of might and void is the throne that he would awake to sit in when the universe is going to end. Is he going to open his eyes now that his successor is here? The gods and demons of death were excited at the thought that the moment they had been so desperately waiting for was here. No, that's not land, that's... While the gods and demons were joyful, Yian-Wu's expression stiffened. As the land floated up, the chains were being pulled along with it, which meant they were connected. Yian-Wu was able to know what the identity of the land was due to this connection. He couldn't allow this to go on any further. Perhaps he had woken up something that shouldn't have been. Open hollow corner bracket kikikik. I see, so that's how it is. I already knew and I was going to pretend not to know, but father, did you only think of us as tools for this? You might have treated me well because you knew I'd someday bring this egg to you. The crawling chaos muttered to himself like a madman and giggled. Fine, if that's how you're coming out, if you choose to be negligent to your family, father, I have no choice but to become a bad child. Isn't that right, dim-witted father? The crawling chaos then spoke to Yian-Wu as if he had made up his mind. You realized it, didn't you? Yian-Wu felt the crawling chaos attitude had changed quite a bit. He spoke in the same tone, but the emotions beneath it were entirely different. Yian-Wu wondered what had the betrayal of the being he had sought for so long brought about in the crawling chaos. So it is. Open hollow corner bracket, yes. That's flesh. Close hollow corner bracket. The crawling chaos voice was filled with mockery. It's only a small part of what made up our dim-witted father, but it's also a cell that can become anything. I never imagined the heavenly demon would have brought it here. That's why we were never able to find it. The land, no, the continent, had floated past the ocean's surface and was climbing for the sky. Rumble. The earth shook even more turbulently. No, the entire universe was shaking with Earth at its center. Space is crushed. Coordinates are deleted. The legends are being destroyed. A being who cannot be played in these legends is attempting to appear. The destruction of the legends is speeding up. Warning. Escape. Warning. Stop the playback of the legends. The promised land has completely revealed itself. Open hollow corner bracket Relia. That's what we call it. Space was twisted and curved from the pressure of the land. Then, when the concept of coordinates collapsed, darkness spread from the land and slowly stained the earth. Night Nox is blooming. Father, father, father. Waited for you. Long time. Ooh. The voices that were becoming louder echoed sadly in the night. Hundreds of tentacles shot out to grab the land. Confusion overflowed. Disorder exploded like ink and took apart the laws of the world. An ominous but inexpressible feeling vibrated throughout the air, and fear began to creep in. The entire universe was shaking. Only then did the gods and demons of death realize that something wasn't right. They stiffened. Things were going differently from what they expected. The headquarters of Asgard appear. The headquarters of Diva appear. The headquarters of Olympus appear. Day Eros reveals itself. Of course, the gods sensed the strange phenomenon. They stopped fighting the heavenly demon and chased after the point where the destruction of the universe began. The pressure on Earth was too much, and the planet could be destroyed. However, strangely enough, Earth was fine other than a few turbulent quakes. Uranus, who had been frantically searching for Yianwu throughout the universe, became speechless at the unfixable situation. Uranus, it seems your temperament becomes squared as it's passed on through the generations. What do you think? Ball took a big bite of a cookie as he sniggered next to Uranus. He seemed composed, but the hand holding the cookie was shaking. He had already half given up. Metatron looked blankly up at the sky. Ball, what? Shut up. Rumble, the heavenly demon manifests. Appearing with a ray of golden light, the heavenly demon described the situation in a single sentence. This motherfucker. He had worked like a dog to contain that thing, but Yianwu pulled it out. The heavenly demon glowered at Yianwu. He wanted to beat Yianwu to death, but the gods and demons of death had started to surround him. He felt frustrated. Even the 3 leaders of day stood in between him and Yianwu, obscuring his vision. The heavenly demon's face was crumpled like a tin can. Old man, are you going to leave that son of a bitch even after he's created this situation? He ruined what you were trying to protect, but you're still going to shield him. What can I do? Even if you call him a son of a bitch or bastard, Uranus smiled bitterly. He's my grandson. Fuck, you recently had a son, didn't you? You'll know what I mean after some time. Whatever, I'll see you when this is all over. You're all dead. The heavenly demon gripped his Rui Bang and turned toward the land again. Although he spoke crudely, his gaze was sharp. Putting aside the fact that the flesh had popped out from the core, the expansion of the night was too fast. At this rate, night would swallow all of Earth, and the end would really come. If the Black King woke up, everything was over. The heavenly demon sighed. Tightening his hold on the Rui Bang, he hoisted it on his shoulder and prepared to throw it. His target was Relia. He only had one chance. He had to put asleep all the confusion in the Black King again. And after that, I thought my body was finally coming back. I'll have to be half disabled again. The heavenly demon clicked his tongue and narrowed his eyes. Whoosh, fiery golden eyes opened. The Black King looks at his shadow. He whispers for you to take the flesh. Something squirmed on the surface of Relia, and they slowly began to stand. They were creatures made of thoughts, who could someday become otherworld gods if they were given enough time. They came pouring down. Everywhere they touched became a territory of night and caused greater confusion. The chains connecting Yianwu to Relia became tighter. The Black King was urging him to come and take all the flesh, to become the vessel to birth him. Open hollow corner bracket. If you take that, you'll become a true shadow of dim-witted father. You might even become the ego-less father yourself. You can be the master of night and control the world as you wish. The crawling chaos snickered. Of course, it'll be debatable whether or not that's really you. Close hollow corner bracket. Still, if Yianwu wanted it, he should take it. That was what the crawling chaos was saying. Yianwu wordlessly rubbed the chains. If he pulled them, he'd gain indescribable strength like the crawling chaos said. He'd have more than just the concepts of death, dreams, disorder, and confusion, and he would become a part of the true Black King. This was an opportunity for him to surpass the limits of Chronos legends and become anew. Open hollow corner bracket. Didn't I already tell you? Legends are stories with the same theme. Those themes are the achievements that you've accomplished. So if the achievement meets its end well, the story will become the same, and the legends will be safe. But there are exceptions. The crawling chaos read Yianwu's deliberation and whispered in his ears to make him more curious. What if those achievements are greater than the already existing ones? If the new end of the story is similar but greater, what will happen then? Couldn't that also be called a new legend? What Yianwu originally wanted was to complete Chronos legends by awakening the Black King to stop the heavenly demon. His intent was near finished. However, he was being given new choices. He could become the Black King's shadow. He'd be a part of him and awaken as a new demonism. He could be an avatar. The problem was that Yianwu's existence could be erased whenever the Black King wished, and he didn't know how he'd be used, but there was a merit that nullified all these disadvantages. I can find Zhengwu's soul that's bound to the Black King. That had been the single purpose that drove him all the way here, so he wasn't able to reject the Black King's offer so easily. Perhaps the Black King had calculated this as well. 0 hours 4 minutes and 15 seconds _12. 0 hours 4 minutes and 15 seconds _11. Open hollow corner bracket. What will you choose? Yianwu, standing at a crossroads, looked at all the gazes surrounding him. Go, Ruyi. In the meantime, the heavenly demon threw the Ruyi Bang with all his strength toward Relia. The Ruyi Bang instantly became a ray of light and pierced through Relia, reaching the core of the earth. Flash! The light shining from the core swallowed the night and all the godly societies around it, as well as Yi and Wu. It was a single flash, but Yi and Wu couldn't shake the feeling that the enlarged Ruyi Bang resembled the tower. All of Chronos legends are destroyed. The playback is stopped. Open hollow corner bracket Cha Jung-woo. Alpharaon narrowed his eyes, looking at Cha Jung-woo's vestige body in front of him. Cha Jung-woo couldn't properly see Alpharaon's face because of the light, but he could guess as to what kind of expression he was making. Open hollow corner bracket fragile child, move. This place isn't somewhere where you should be. Alpharaon's voice was firm, but there was a certain affection to it. With thousand-li eyes, Alpharaon could see all the events in the tower from where he was. He knew how difficult a path Cha Jung-woo had walked and the pain he felt after repeating the same dream over and over again. He didn't want to hurt Cha Jung-woo, if possible. Although Cha Jung-woo's vestige body was nothing more than a ghost who refused to follow the laws of nature, Alpharaon knew how futile the attempt was, so he didn't feel the need to stop him. That vestige body would disappear after today, anyway. Forcibly maintaining that kind of body meant Cha Jung-woo was continuing to use the limited vestiges. Open hollow corner bracket you're the same as you were in the past, Vivasvat, speaking that bullshit. However, Cha Jung-woo thought Alpharaon's gaze was pathetic. There had been a time when he once admired him and wanted to unravel his secrets to become like him. Now, he realized that he had just been pulled toward an illusion of Alpharaon, and that it was all fake. No, now, Alpharaon was technically Cha Jung-woo's enemy. He put Chronos, who jumped into the tower to save his child, through trials, and he put Yi and Wu, who wanted to find his little brother, through hardships. He was the enemy who split up a family that wanted nothing more than peace. Furthermore, there were countless beings like the vampiric lord who weren't able to return to their family and had spent ages waiting. No matter how great Alpharaon's ideals were, or how great his purpose was, he couldn't be left alone any longer. Of course, Jung-woo knew he couldn't defeat Alpharaon. He had made several attempts to exuviate in a few of his dreams. Since he would eventually be surrounded by traitors no matter what he did, he tried to gain divinity in an attempt to escape them. But he had failed every time. Once, he was so frustrated that he even fought a war against Alpharaon, but he had been horribly defeated. He wasn't in his original condition right now, so if he stepped up, he'd most definitely be defeated again. Open hollow corner bracket so, please stop with that bullshit. It's annoying. Mern. Open hollow corner bracket I've been waiting for you to call me. Cha Jung-woo decided to face Alpharaon head-on, and Nemesis immediately responded to his shout, appearing in the sky and disappearing within emptiness again. Whoosh. Dreams expanded. A dark glittering aurora covered the world of Alpharaon and octagonal shapes began to click together. It was the illusory barrier Cha Jung-woo and Nemesis often materialized together, called Dream World. It was the ultimate skill that quickly took care of Jung-woo's opponent and worked in harmony with his perfect adaptability. But Alpharaon just tilted his head. You must know this can't do anything. When Alpharaon took a step forward, the expansion of Dream World stopped, and his second step forward already cracked its surface. Using such skills was a waste of strength in the 77th floor, which was nearly Alpharaon's holy territory. Open hollow corner bracket I know. But I need this for me to step forward in the slightest. Cha Jung-woo simply smirked. Open hollow corner bracket are you? Alpharaon halted his steps. Open hollow corner bracket you. You hate exuviation and transcendence, don't you? You talk bullshit about how it's going against the laws of nature and whatnot, but you're just telling people not to act up. You want worms to continue to live like worms. Hearing someone born with a diamond spoon like you saying that just makes me wanna barf. Swish. For a moment, Cha Jung-woo's transparent vestige body became focused, as if he had gained a real body. Although it was only for a short while, he had restored the peak of his strength from when he was living through Dream World. His soul was matured enough to attempt exuviation. Open hollow corner bracket so I'll do the thing you hate right now. I bet no one did something like this with you right in front of them. As soon as he was done talking, intense whirlwinds spun around Jung-woo and lights flashed behind him to push away the light from Alpharaon. Through exuviation, Cha Jung-woo was attempting to escape the unstable vestige body and become whole. In that moment, he was divine. He already had more than enough achievements for them to become legends. He repeated many trials in his dreams, and he gained achievements through them. They had become a firm castle that wouldn't come breaking down. He was confident he didn't lack anything compared to any other divine being. Open hollow corner bracket. I failed in my dreams, but things are gonna be different from now. Cha Jung-woo's determination to stand against Alpharaon alone became his identity and established his ability, and he had already obtained holiness after becoming Yin-woo's familiar. Divine status, legends, divine ability, holiness, and divine spirit. When the 5 conditions that were required to become a god were met, Cha Jung-woo's vestige body was able to break out of its shell and have a complete body. The data of the deleted player, Cha Jung-woo, has been restored. Through exuviation, Cha Jung-woo's status has been changed to demigod. The spring of time blesses you. The spring of death blesses you. An unidentifiable power cheers for you. Exuviation is in progress. The real fight was about to begin. Crash. It was a world where everything was destroyed. It had been a place where the legends of Kronos existed, but now, only void filled its place. The spring of time has paused. The spring of time has paused. System messages continued to pop up. Under normal circumstances, they should have been gone too, but the fact that messages were continuing to appear meant the system was still working. Error. Error. The source of the error is being searched for. The output was incorrect. The output is being fixed. Not all of Kronos' legends were destroyed. It has been confirmed that the countdown still exists. The current remaining time is 2 minutes, 6 seconds, and 4 milliseconds. A very small part of Kronos' legends has survived and is attempting to restore itself. It has failed. It has failed. The damage to the data is too severe for restoration. There isn't enough energy to attempt restoration. An unidentifiable power attempts to hack the console system. An attempt to restore the data is made. Kronos' paused legends begin to play again. Tick, tock. The sound of needles moving began to ring out again. The spring of time is moving at a very slow speed. Whoosh. The collapsed world began to squirm. Broken pieces found their places one by one and started to be fixed. Just as how Yin-woo destroyed his legends and reassembled them to finish Yin spirit, Kronos' legends were being newly organized. The broken parts were connected, and the damaged parts were fixed. The fragmented parts were reshaped and put back into their positions. Kronos' legends were not only restored, but they were becoming strengthened from what they had been. An unidentifiable power is restoring the spring of the clock. The destroyed 13th cogwheel has been exchanged. The damaged 21st cogwheel's cog has been fixed. The 1921th cogwheel has successfully been fixed. All the needles of the clock have been fixed. The speed of the needles slowly increases. The time limit has increased. It is applied to the countdown. 0 hours 3 minutes and 41 seconds _ 32. 0 hours 3 minutes and 41 seconds _ 33. It wasn't easy to restore the broken legends. If something went wrong, they could all be damaged. That was why Gaia's curse had been an object of fear to countless gods. The balance of the legends couldn't be fully restored if they were broken. Even the leader of the day, Uranus, and the king of gods, Kronos, hadn't been free from Gaia's curse. The martial king, who had reached emperor status, had faced it as well. However, Yin-woo was released from Gaia's curse with Hades' help, and he had gained resistance to it. He had even reassembled his legends and changed the properties of his body with Yin spirit. He had opened his own heart with a scalpel without being under anesthesia, and he was done recovering from it. Thus, it wasn't that difficult for Yin-woo to fix Kronos' heart as well. Since he already had experience, he was faster at it too. At the time, he hadn't had any consciousness, but he was fully aware now. He even had the great legends of awaking the Black King and gaining the title of being his shadow, so anything was possible. The minute hand has been restored. His domain began to function normally. The hour hand has been restored. All the parts that Kronos didn't think Yin-woo could fix because they were too damaged were fixed as well. The domains are activating. The domains are complete. The lost functions of the spring have been fully recovered. An unidentifiable power forcibly activates the springs. Fuel is input. The needles of the clock spin. The minute hand spins. The hour hand spins. The spring of time is functioning normally. The small wheel begins to roll again. The overload is ignored. The spring of death and the spring of time are connected for maximum efficiency. The two springs were finally connected after being separated for so long. The two domains resonated together, as if happy to see each other. The owner of the legends, Kronos, has been restored. Resurrection is taking place. A new line is added to the legends of Kronos. Self-resuscitation. The abuser, opens his eyes. Boom, boom, rumble. Just when the 77th floor wildly shook as the confrontation between Alpharon and the gods reached a climax. Anomalies were also occurring in the lower floors, also commonly referred to as the lower world. What is that? Ah, what's this? All the shadows are being sucked upwards. For most players who did not dare to climb to the 77th floor, the Alpharon raid was a definite indicator that signaled the ushering of a new era. However, the raid itself did not really affect these players or have much impact on their daily lives. Everyone knew that the order in the tower would change drastically whether the Alpharon raid ended in success or failure. As a result, many rankers were busy trying to calculate which side to stand in support of to gain the greatest benefits after the conclusion of the raid. Outside of these rankers, the majority only held the belief that the upper ranks were going to change drastically. After all, to the majority, the 77th floor was a world and an existence as distant as the heavenly world, so they thought, even if the higher ranks and order changed, those changes would be the only things that would happen in the end. Many believed nothing much would change in their day-to-day lives because, when Arthea destroyed the existing 8 major clans and established a standalone system, there were no major changes, only a few minor inconveniences for most players. Moreover, in the world of the tower, conflict was always ongoing, and there were too many things that each player had to do to pay attention to the things that were impacted and derived from every conflict. However, it was different now. Everyone from the first floor to the 76th floor, from players who were concentrating on advancing up the floors, the players who focused on self-discipline and improvement, the believers who were carrying out the orders given by the gods they worshipped, the ambitious players who dreamt of one day establishing their own Arthea, everyone stopped what they were doing and incredulously looked on at the terrifying scene. The shadows that had been cast along the grounds they were standing on began to tear away and detach from the players' bodies. It was a sight that shocked all viewers. Although many experienced, and constantly experienced, their environments changed through magic and other sorcery, they had never considered shattering the common sense that one's shadow always followed its master. However, at this moment, those shadows were trying to separate from their master's bodies, and all at once. Additionally, as if the shadows were living creatures, they started to exhibit bizarre appearances, such as actively struggling to keep from tearing away from their master's body or visibly squirming with pain while clasping their heads with their hands. The shadows, however, could not resist the enormous power that was applied to them. The torn shadows flew through space and flew up into the sky at a fierce speed. No, to be precise, they were being sucked away. The players' shadows as well as the shadows of the components that made up each floor's stage were all mixed and sucked upwards. The shadows of tall cliffs, the shadows cast by giant trees, rocks, grass, insects, and even the shadows of tiny grains of sand all gathered and flew up toward the sky. One could not help but cry out in astonishment at the surreal phenomenon. Quote, 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 quote. Everyone stopped what they were doing and stared blankly up at the sky. At some point, they no longer screamed or cried out in fear. Everyone just stared upward with wavering gazes and mouths wide open. What they were witnessing not only defied common sense. Even the magic users and apostles who studied and tinkered with the laws of the world, the sight was diametrically opposed to their beliefs and experiences of the world. As if a corner of their hearts were being tickled and aggravated, everyone felt a strange feeling arise within them. Then, on each floor, the group of shadows had coalesced together to form a sphere in the sky gradually spread out along each floor's sky. The spreading shadows blocked the light on each floor's stage. The stages where it was day were dyed in darkness, and the stages where it was night had the moon and stars' light completely blocked. The sun and the moon on each floor vanished, little by little, as if they were devoured by an invisible beast until the floors were completely covered in darkness. A total eclipse had taken place. At that moment, all the players felt a strange emotion spread throughout their chests and down their spines. The sudden chill gave rise to goosebumps. Furthermore, once the players raised their bowed heads, they could not help but silently scream out. All they could see were stages without a single point of light. The stage engulfed by shadows, no, to be more specific, darkness, stimulated a primal fear that all living things naturally possessed. From the first floor to the 76th floor, all areas of the lower world were engulfed in darkness. The Black King looks down on the stage. Above the heads of all the players, a simple yet confusing message appeared. The scattered spirit and body of abuser ## are being reconstructed. When Yian-Wu opened his eyes again. You've finally come. Ha ha ha, you're finally here. You've come later than expected, so I was starting to wonder what was going on. Thank goodness you're here, it's so chaotic outside right now. With a sigh of relief, the master blacksmiths gathered around Yian-Wu. When Yian-Wu's return was delayed beyond the expected timeframe, the master blacksmiths had felt anxious, but now that Yian-Wu was present, they collectively breathed a sigh of relief. Jerk. Unlike the others, Heneva glared disapprovingly at Yian-Wu while shoving a pipe in his mouth. I'm sorry. Yian-Wu bowed his head without making any excuses. Although he had to go through many unexpected things in Chronos Legends, it was true that he was late. As time was of the essence, if something was not done or someone was not present at their scheduled time, the entire operation could be put in jeopardy. Fortunately, unlike Yian-Wu, who had become a lamb-herding shepherd of sorts, the master blacksmiths had already finished all their responsibilities. Powerful artifacts could be detected everywhere. These were new items that would all garner considerable admiration if they were publicly presented to the world. Not only would they be designated as divine artifacts, but the tower's systems would likely judge the artifacts as S or EX rank at the least. However, these artifacts were all just parts. These artifacts were not what Yian-Wu was looking for. More than that, look up. As if he knew what Yian-Wu was thinking and trying to say, Heneva spoke up monotonously as he tapped his pipe to flush out the used smoking pipe leaves. Yian-Wu's gaze automatically turned upward, and at the place where he looked whoosh. The fragments of a broken sword swirled around and created a vortex. Yian-Wu instantly figured out what it was. The fragmented legends of Chronos ask you to look after them. The fragments were the broken pieces of Vigrid. When the legends of Chronos collapsed, it was clear that Vigrid was also dismantled. However, even though Vigrid was obviously dead, it still boasted an immense power. No, to be more precise, Vigrid exhibited a completely different character than its previous state. Fundamentally, the components that comprised Vigrid were the same. However, unlike Vigrid's previously exhibited tendency to give off a violent, sharp, and random aura, Vigrid now gave off a refined and majestic feeling, as if it was a large river that flowed proudly and vigorously. Once Chronos legends were re-established and the springs of time and death were all restored, holy power was restored and took its full form. Yian-Wu naturally stretched out his hand towards that direction. Then, as if following an invisible link, Yian-Wu seemed to respond to the form with divine speech. Be complete. Even after Chronos completed the legend of self-renewal, Vigrid had still not been completely restored because the last piece was missing. The last piece was the conceptual existence of the re-established concept of Chronos, and Yian-Wu tried to define the new conceptual existence by giving it a name using divine speech. Meaning has been given. A definition has been defined. The hidden true names of Vigrid are revealed. Whoosh. The scattered pieces of Vigrid began to merge quickly. Clink, clink. The pieces began to find their place without much confusion. However, the order was completely different from before. Moreover, the finished form of Vigrid was also different. The true name, Harp, has appeared. Some forms took on scythe-like forms, like Harp. The true name, Guy Bulg, has appeared. The true name, Durandal, has appeared. The other fragments took on the form of a spear, which represented Guy Bulg, while other fragments took on the form of a longsword, which represented Durandal. Other representative forms also took other shapes, such as those of Excalibur, Caliburn, Balmung, and Mistiltine. Numerous swords formed and danced around Yian-Wu. The legend of Harp, Perseus, is looking upon you. The legend of Guy Bulg, C.U. Chilane, is looking upon you. The legend of Durandal, Roland, is looking upon you. The fragmented legends of Chronos are focusing their attention upon you. Each one of the legends was the true name that Vigrid had contained, and they were fragments of the achievements that Chronos had accumulated during his previous life on Earth. All the legends possessed fully intact egos. Although they took the shape of a sword, Chronos' various appearances that he had taken in his previous lives appeared all at once like illusions. They equally looked to their youngest son and the only successor. Moreover, they spoke out together in a whisper. They urged Yian-Wu to inherit the achievements that they had built up during their lifetimes. They wanted him to act as the true king of gods, to extend the glory of the king of gods to every corner of the world. Here, take this. Heneva, who had been watching the situation quietly, approached and offered something to Yian-Wu. While receiving the jade-breaking drive derivative device, Yian-Wu took out his darkness jade and placed it within the jade-breaking drive derivative device. Click. A clear clicking sound rang out as if the two items were originally one. Merge. Whoosh. A combining phenomenon has started. The darkness jade radiates divine power and is linking the fragmented legends of Chronos together. Combination begins. Countless weaponry forms were once again fragmented and scattered before merging once more around the darkness jade. Every movement seemed very natural and free from wasted movement, as if the fragments were finding their natural place. Additionally, there were also new items made by the master blacksmiths mixed into the overall final form. The items made by the master blacksmiths took on the role of assisting and guiding each legend, which possessed its own unique independence so that they did not collide with each other and could combine into an organic form. Soon, the fragmented pieces and parts interlocked and took the shape of a huge sword that covered the holy territory. The true name, Scythe, has appeared. Vigrid has been newly completed. Your achievements have been strengthened. Your achievements have been strengthened. As all achievements merge into one, a giant legend is being constituted. The name of Vigrid has been permanently changed to Scythe. The legend of Scythe, Chronos, is looking upon you. Chronos is longing for you to call upon his name. Come, here. After Yin Wu's divine speech, Scythe turned its handle sideways and quickly flew into Yin Wu's hand as if it had been waiting for his command all along. Scythe was far too large for Yin Wu to use, but it soon reduced to a size that allowed him to comfortably grab it. Whoosh! The tremendous power that Chronos boasted in his heyday was poured into Yin Wu's body. Yin Wu's cognitive domain expanded and his worldview was strengthened. Yin Wu could feel a new vigorous power within himself. The spring of time has designated you as its pendulum. The hour hand is turning. The minute hand is turning. The second hand is turning. The spring of death is operating to reinforce your divinity. You have fully achieved the title of King of Gods. Once the spring of time and the spring of death interlocked and became operational, Chronos was able to fully open his eyes. Flash! Above Yin Wu's eyes, a darkness-filled glare formed, marking the completion of the two's unity. Open hollow corner bracket sun. There was a strong resonance in Chronos' voice that echoed in Yin Wu's head. It was as if hundreds of different selves of Chronos were speaking at the same time. Yes. Open hollow corner bracket, let's discuss all the stuff you did inside my legends after things settle down. Chronos felt impatient. Beyond the area where they were, Chronos sensed Cha Jung-woo's divine power, and Jung-woo's forceful attempt to exuviate on the 77th floor. He was worried about how his son could handle Alpharon alone, so he didn't take the time to enjoy his resurrection. Let's save your brother first. Without a reply, Yin Wu swiped with Vigrid, no, now Scythe, and opened the emptiness to connect with the 77th floor. This is no fun, Vimalasitra muttered to himself as he strolled down a path. Wherever he passed had the overwhelming odor of burnt flesh and blood from thousands of fallen gods, but Vimalasitra did not care at all. Everyone was hiding from him. This body of mine, where is the being who will challenge and reinvigorate this body of mine? The thought of clashing with another being further excited Vimalasitra. Countless years had passed since he was imprisoned in the tower, so he had forgotten he was the Asura king. During this long period of time, Vimalasitra continued to self-practice and train. He had done so to one day break free from the constraints of the tower and challenge the heavenly demon once more. Unlike the other gods and demons who carried a grudge against the heavenly demon, and considered it a curse to be constrained within the confines of the tower, Vimalasitra did not care much about the constraints. No, rather, he enjoyed being locked up in the tower. The confinement was no different than going into closed training. Furthermore, there was no better place where one could train without outside interference. Moreover, there were quite a few rather powerful beings if one just looked around, so there was no reason to be bored. Of course, those who were forcibly and unwittingly designated as Vimalasitra's opponents may have a different opinion, but Vimalasitra gave no thought. Vimalasitra was a being who lived solely to fight. Fighting brought extreme joy, purpose, and direction to his life. Additionally, he regarded the victory at the end of an arduous and difficult battle the most valuable thing in life. Thus, his determination to one day defeat the heavenly demon became the primary driving force that kept him training and moving without rest. However, from a certain point, his motivation and driving force gradually declined. The heavenly demon, who Vimalasitra thought would appear in front of him someday, never revealed himself to the heavenly world. All that was known about him was that he'd fallen asleep. Moreover, Vimalasitra, who had enjoyed the freedom to roam around and do whatever he wanted in the heavenly world, was eventually restricted after an agreement was made between Malik and L'Infernal to end large-scale fighting in the heavenly world. Although he could still strike fear in many gods and demons, Vimalasitra could no longer enjoy the chaos of constant warfare, no matter how wildly he acted. This reality made Vimalasitra's wrath burst. Gods and demons were as incompatible as water and oil, and the heavenly world was too small for such great and powerful beings to be confined together. Being suppressed and oppressed by another was not something that any of them were used to, so Vimalasitra wanted the gods and demons to fight fiercely and vie for dominance. However, the gods and demons threw away such pride and tried to live a comfortable, peaceful life, as they had gotten used to confined life in the heavenly world. In the end, only silly pride and shrugging shoulders were left. In Vimalasitra's eyes, the entire situation seemed worthless and meaningless. The gods and demons became chickens that laid eggs in a chicken coop. They had become pigs and cows locked up in small cages, and never knew when they would be disposed of. They had essentially become livestock. Still, holding out some hope, Vimalasitra had once forcefully entered a godly society alone to see if he could spark a fire and create tension, but Vimalasitra soon disgustedly laid down his sword after seeing the pathetic behavior of the gods who could not even think of resisting properly. It was not worth fighting those excuses for gods, and swinging a sword at them was nothing less than a disservice and disgrace to the martial arts he had trained in and built up. Afterward, Vimalasitra did not raise his sword again. Raising a sword against livestock gathered in a cage was meaningless and vain. Vimalasitra thought it better not to start such nonsense in the first place. Hence, Vimalasitra turned his back on the heavenly world and stopped paying any attention to it. It was an unexpected retirement. The many passing years since then had gradually eroded the hefty name of Vimalasitra from the gods and demons. Then one day, quite by accident, Vimalasitra peered down into the lower world. He could not stand his boredom and happened to look down into the lower world to kill time. He had no expectations. Vimalasitra had gotten to the point where he contemplated suicide to escape such a repetitive and meaningless life of boredom. It was at that time he saw Yanwu, who ran around like a thunderbolt and hoped to seek revenge for his dead twin brother. However, Vimalasitra did not even notice or pay attention to Yanwu's story. Among the numerous beings entering the tower, every single existence had a similar personal history or story. But among all those in the lower world, Yanwu was particularly bright and sparkling. To achieve his purpose, Yanwu regarded his own life and safety as a usable tool, a means to achieve a higher end. From time to time, Yanwu traded with transcendental beings and every so often threatened to blackmail them in moderation. He was able to achieve feats that others were not able to accomplish, and little by little, with each successive achievement, Yanwu developed himself and rose through the ranks. Yanwu's process of winning victory after victory through fight started to thaw Vimalasitra's frozen heart and make it beat once more. Yes, that was what Vimalasitra had forgotten, what he had strived for. This was what Vimalasitra thought. So, he continued to quietly watch Yanwu. Being inspired by Yanwu, Vimalasitra got up for the first time in thousands of years. He grabbed his sword and went out with the mindset of starting over. Like Yanwu, Vimalasitra decided to throw away everything that surrounded him. There was no longer any need for an affiliation with the Jia sect or the status of being a demon. I am Vimalasitra, the great Asura king. Is there anything in the world that can stand in my way? The gods who had vaguely remembered Vimalasitra's name hurriedly hid. Some demons, who judged that Vimalasitra must have been weakened from the passing of time, rushed to win fame but subsequently died. When hundreds of transcendent beings were slaughtered with his single sword, the heavenly world was thrown into chaos as everyone shuddered in fear once again. Vimalasitra had not been idle with his martial arts during his long period of outside inactivity. Even if he had let go of his sword in his hand, he had always sharpened the sword in his heart. Thus, Vimalasitra wandered all over the heavenly world under the guise of personal training, and he directly informed the whole world that he was still well alive. His slumbering senses had been awakened one by one. Moreover, he was hungry. Like a wild beast waking up from a long slumber and traversing a meadow to soothe an empty stomach, Vimalasitra searched for something to calm his seemingly insatiable appetite. Fortunately, a possible existence was about to appear. Poof! Vimalasitra halted his steps. He stood in front of an emptiness that leaked out a powerful, violent storm of divine power. The powerful aura and power were sharp enough to force even him to draw strength into the hand holding his sword. Apparently, as Vimalasitra had hoped, his opponent not only realized all his powers but seemed to have achieved a more powerful state. So, when that being fully revealed itself. My name is Vimalasitra. Vimalasitra moved. I prayed earnestly for you to come here. Rumble. Boom. There was no need for Vimalasitra to wait for Yin Wu's response. All Vimalasitra wanted was to release his pent-up energy and desire, and to enjoy this moment to the fullest. A demigod was neither a transcendent being nor immortal, but a being in a questionable, gray state. This form, which had only gone through exuviation, could be considered a kind of transitional period in which the soul slowly takes shape as it matures to a complete state. In terms of a flower's life cycle, the period was like a bud that was about to slowly bloom. Many gods and demons often called this transitional period a half-developed state. Moreover, depending on what kind of achievements the subject who achieved exuviation and what level of power one previously possessed, there was a wide range of power levels one could possess in this state. Naturally, though, there were not many heavenly world beings that could compare with the achievements Cha Jung-woo possessed, as he had recorded numerous feats. Whoosh! Cha Jung-woo ran. As his spirit form took shape and became clearer, a majestic power started swirling in him. The sharpened senses were telling Jung-woo that he had reached a higher realm than he had ever achieved during his lifetime. Bam! Cha Jung-woo struck out with his sword, colliding with Alpharon's hand. The explosive shockwave swept out in all directions. Open hollow corner bracket. I think I know what you're aiming for, but it's useless. Alpharon pushed Cha Jung-woo away with all his might while shouting firmly. Dozens of beams of light exploded from his fingertips and streaked toward Cha Jung-woo to imprison him. Cha Jung-woo lifted the dragon slayer that Heneva had made for him. The ground was forcibly raised, deflecting the oncoming beams of light. As the wall of earth crumbled, a thick cloud of dust spread out. Open hollow corner bracket. In the end, you're just a half-developed transcendent, are you not? Is. Alpharon silently appeared behind Cha Jung-woo. His movement was different from one originated from magic, like teleport or blink. His movement was closer to moving by simply folding space. It was one of the representative skills that symbolized Alpharon, Shukuchi. Open hollow corner bracket. You're not qualified. Whoosh! Seemingly at the same time, Alpharon's palms struck out like lightning and hit Cha Jung-woo's back. For a moment, Alpharon's hands gave off a golden glow as they seemingly expanded a dozen times larger. It was a great handprint. An error has occurred. The transcension can no longer proceed. An error has occurred. The transcension can no longer proceed. You are not qualified to proceed further. Please try again after meeting all qualifications. The transcension has stopped. Divinity was the purification of one's soul. However, though Cha Jung-woo's vestige body was qualified, the most important condition, the soul, was lost. Naturally, the conditions were unsatisfactory to complete transcendence. Alpharon pointed this reality out, but open hollow corner bracket. Well, close hollow corner bracket. Boom! Cha Jung-woo used his improved agile senses to turn to the opposite side and swung out with Dragon Slayer. He used random shooting to release all the magic spells he had memorized so far. Open hollow corner bracket. What of it? Among the magic spells, there were many skills and divine-level magic spells that he had not mastered during his lifetime. Among the many repeated lives in the pocket watch, there were quite a few skills and spells that were acquired during the numerous lives as a magician and priest. Moreover, possessing the perfect adaptability trait, Jung-woo inevitably had a stable and well-developed base. However, all of Jung-woo's spells were shot out to merely offset the shockwave of Alpharon's great handprint, even fractionally if not entirely. Cha Jung-woo was able to buy enough breathing room and time to pull his body back as far as possible to prepare for his decisive strike. Open hollow corner bracket. Whatever. I like how I am. I get to smile, laugh, and spend time with my brother, father, and everyone else. Sky wings. Wave of light. Open hollow corner bracket. I'm able to do things that I couldn't do on Earth. Who are you to judge whether I'm qualified or not? You're such an old-fashioned bastard. The pair of wings Cha Jung-woo had completed long ago ran along his back, amplifying his magic and divine power to the maximum, and he compressed it to the extreme on the tip of his sword before exploding it. Flash. Pure white lights, boasting a completely different color from that of Alpharon's, traversed past Alpharon's golden light wall. Alpharon utilized Shukuchi to avoid Jung-woo's attack and appeared in Cha Jung-woo's blind spot. Alpharon then exploded out with another great handprint strike, a formidable attack that only a few gods could properly deal with. Alpharon was planning to subdue Cha Jung-woo with this attack. He had no intention of killing Jung-woo because Alpharon felt sorry for the soulless child who constantly suffered through the cursed wheel of fate. However, since the child had achieved exuviation, Jung-woo would have to be locked up in a prison. Clang! Cha Jung-woo simply turned to the side as if he expected the attack and once again deflected the great handprint strike. Open hollow corner bracket, can you just keep your hands off of us? Alphorone suddenly got the feeling that something was amiss. Even though Jung-woo's transcension had stopped progressing, the divine power surrounding Cha Jung-woo continued to be amplified exponentially. Even the blow Alphorone had just delivered was not something Jung-woo should have easily blocked, since the last strike possessed enough power to instantly annihilate most gods. Could it be? At that moment, Alphorone suddenly noticed something strange. Open hollow corner bracket, you've just figured it out. You old fogey, you're really slow. Being quick to adapt to changes is the trend these days, but you're so behind. Tisk tisk. Cha Jung-woo swung once again and sent out another wave of light. The rays of light divided into dozens of branches, each containing a different characteristic. No, to be more exact, each possessed its own divine power. While Alphorone parried the rays of light one by encircling them with his golden light, he opened thousandly eyes to look up into the 78th floor. The links between Alphorone and the various elder and conceptual gods, who had been extremely active to oust him in recent years, were now all directed towards Cha Jung-woo. Fragments of Zhirt protect you. Fragments of Nzay Kambal are bestowing blessings upon you. Fragments of Zigzanath grant you grace. Open hollow corner bracket, what's going on? The elder gods, existences who were so old that it was rare to find anyone who still remembered them, were empowering Cha Jung-woo. Though eons had passed, and even though their egos had faded, the fragments of the elder gods' existences gave power to Jung-woo as if he was their apostle. Cha Jung-woo was receiving blessings from countless beings. It was like the days of old when Yi and Wu contained the gods and demons of death within his body. Just like the time when Yi and Wu acquired the powers and skills of thousands of gods and demons at once, Jung-woo was now showing a similar appearance. If there was a difference, the beings that Cha Jung-woo was representing as a vessel were more supreme beings that were different from common divine beings. Of course, Alpharone's voice had slightly quavered as he voiced his surprise. Open hollow corner bracket, surprising, no. Cha Jung-woo teasingly stated at the frowning Alphorone. You must be. I was surprised as well. As the Dragon Slayer was dyed with waves of light once more, it shone brilliantly in a multitude of colors. The sword trembled as if it was about to explode at any moment. It was as if a dragon was crying. Open hollow corner bracket, all these uncles want to help me, all of a sudden they're calling me the rightful heir of the day, or some such thing, close hollow corner bracket. Open hollow corner bracket.